Oh yeah, much better. Woo! Let's go. Let's go. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the stream. Welcome to the show. Make sure you smash that like button. Give me a little tap on the like button just one time. One time. Help me out here. Oh, it's gonna be a good day, I can tell. Oh, yeah. Hello to everybody watching on Twitch. Hello to everybody watching on Twitter. Hello to everybody watching on Kick. And what is up to everybody on YouTube? On YouTube! Yeah. I had a sort of different thing that we were going to talk about today. I wanted to go over a lot of different things. There's like a lot of little news out there. Mando, Grogu updates, the Batman Beyond stuff. There's stuff with like Spider-Man too. More craziness, more updates about what's going on with like Kevin Feige, Sony, and Spider-Man and all that. But, ladies and gentlemen, we were gifted such a beautiful thing. A brand new article just came out in the Hollywood Reporter. It's Boris Kitt, Aaron Couch, two of the best in the business, breaking down how Marvel's retooling amid superhero fatigue. So we got a brand new article to break down, and I'm so excited. One of the reasons I'm really excited. Is because Daniel RPK was wrong and Josh was right. Don't ever forget it. Don't ever forget it. We should make t-shirts. Something. Maybe fanny packs. Hats. Maybe some kites. You know, maybe we could get an airplane and we could have like the air. You know how the airplane like drives and it's got the sign and the message and the thing, and then you check it out and then you look and then you're like, whoa, shit, what's it say on that plane? Yeah. Josh was right and Daniel RPK was wrong, and I told it. Look, we're gonna try to keep it chill. Okay, new year, new me. It's a new year, it's a new me. We're gonna try to keep it chill, but oh man, I told this dude to his face. I mean, you know, nobody knows what his face actually looks like, but I told him in the day, I was like, you're wrong, Daniel, you're fucking wrong. Here's all the evidence of you being fucking wrong about Kang. And this dude's literally out here trying to make it seem like it's still going to be all about Kang. Kang's still the whole thing. It's all about Kang. Like, bro, actual reporters and people that have a better record than you are saying the opposite. Okay? So, oh man, you know, not to be super petty and to be a total butthole about this, but oh, does it feel good to be proven correct? And you gotta watch Daniel. Here's the thing. I look, I don't really know Daniel. I don't really have anything particularly against Daniel, but here's the thing. What is Daniel known for? Chat. What's the guy do? How do we even know about this guy? He is a scooper. He grabs information up from various sources and whatnot, and then gives it to us. And the thing that we've noticed about Daniel in the last 6 months is that while he does have great sources and accurate information, he reports things with an agenda. He reports things from an angle, from a perspective. I'll give you another one. Daniel said that the new X-Men project was going to be female central. Bullshit. Not true. And just like this Kang stuff, like I don't get it. I don't understand where the bias comes from exactly. I don't know why he reports things the way that he does. I really don't. I wish I did. You know what I mean? It could just be a bias. It could be there's some other agenda at play there. But oh, how sweet it is. How sweet it is to be proven correct and to know for certain that you got to take what Daniel says with a grain of salt, you know, and you've got to try to figure out the lensing, figure out the angle, figure out the truth through what he says. So that's what it is. And I'm really excited. So we're going to be getting into this. We're going to get into this article in just a minute. And we'll go over it together. We'll talk about everything that's in it. A lot of crazy stuff that's being said. I'm seeing the headlines. I haven't looked at the article yet. I wanted to do that with you guys live. So we're going to do that. And some of the headlines I've seen are crazy. And we'll break down all the information that is in here. We're also going to go over some of this other stuff as well. And so it's going to be a good day. I'm pretty charged up. How are you guys doing? First of all, what's going on, chat? Let me know. And I also want to say thank you to everybody that came by the stream last night. We had another deep dive into George Lucas stream. It was an interesting stream. I got super triggered on stream, and that was fun for everybody except for me. But in all seriousness, we had a cool little deep dive on Star Wars, George Lucas. We even got to like some of the prequel stuff. It was really interesting to explore how the prequels were received when they first came out. How for a lot of us, we weren't really exposed to that because it's not like we were really online. We weren't really on these message boards. And, you know, the one thing that I'll say about last night that was kind of cool was there was something somebody said in one of the videos we watched where he said, like, my appreciation, I think it was Joseph Scrimshaw, actually. He said, my appreciation for the prequels is partially based on how I got to experience Star Wars again and the nostalgia of that and, like, going around to Taco Bell's to get a little coin or collecting merchandise, going to the midnight screening and all that sort of stuff. It was really interesting. It sort of took me back to moments with Disney's sequel trilogy, especially early on, and how myself, I had a lot of incredible experiences with Star Wars because Disney took it over. It was really cool. So I enjoyed the stream last night. I thank you guys for being there. That's going to wrap up our deep dive on George Lucas. The next thing we need to do, we need to figure out what's the next thing we're going to deep dive on. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a person or a creator, but that's something we need to think about is like, what do we want to deep dive on next? Like, I've even thought about Goku versus Superman. That might seem silly, but I think Goku versus Superman is like one of the biggest debates as in like nerdy spaces ever. You know what I mean? So I thought something like that could be cool. We could go into the creation of a particular IP. We could go into a, there's like a lot of different options. Bob Kane versus Bill Finger. I don't know. I mean, it's not a bad pick. I just, I want to deep dive on something that's like really relevant. You know what I mean? At least to this community. So the more relevant, the better to the community. I mean, that whole situation, I think, is a little bit more clear cut than even Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Like, we pretty much know that the one dude was taken advantage of and the other guy didn't really have a lot to do with its success. So I think that one's a little bit, it's not as spicy. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, that's we have a week. We'll do the stream next Tuesday. We've got homework for next week, right? We've got to read those 11 issues of the Fantastic Four, which, by the way, chat, help me out here. There are 11 more issues, at least, of that run, right? Because somebody was telling me, I haven't actually looked, but somebody was like, it doesn't go to 590. But I was like, wait, what? Doesn't it? And like, isn't it gonna set up the Battle of the Kings or whatever the hell that storyline was called? Toriyama turning over DBZ manga to the Toritaro. I don't know if that one's like, I mean, that's a cool one for sure. And I think that the interesting part of Toritaro is the fact that he was that guy that was doing the Dragon Ball like fan animation. You know what I mean? And he gets the job to actually then make actual Dragon Ball manga, which is pretty cool. But I don't know if there's a lot of like controversy there or like a lot of stuff that we'd have to uncover. You know what I mean? But it is interesting for sure. Yeah, Geekdom probably has a deep dive on that. By the way, for those of you that were in chat last night, I had reached out to Danny asking him about that video with Dash Star, and he says, he admitted, he was like, yeah, I was. Remember, he admitted that he had to pretend to like it because he was coping, Dash Star. Because one of the things we kind of got into last night on stream was the fact that when The Last Jedi initially came out, a lot of people really liked it. You know what I mean? Even people like Jeremy Griggs from Geeks and Gamers liked The Last Jedi initially. Then there was like a turn that happened when people started like noticing and realizing things about the movie, and it was really fascinating to watch people turn on that movie in real time. I suggested, and I still think this is true, that the first big video or stream or piece of content that started to turn that narrative was with Geekdom 101 and Dash Star. And I remember listening to that podcast that they did. I think I was on my way back from Boston. And even myself, I had kind of, because I had like mixed feelings about The Last Jedi, as we also watched last night. Like, I don't remember being as negative as I was about it. Trev pulled a reaction stream that I did with James Rosile. And I was like, I was more negative than I remembered. But I think what happened was I kind of got more comfortable with the movie over time. Like, I know all the stuff I hated about the movie, I just hated more and more. But the stuff that I liked about the movie, I liked more and more. So that kind of created a positive kind of experience with The Last Jedi. But yeah, it was fascinating to watch in real time people turn on that movie. And that was like the birth of like anti-Disney, anti-Kathleen Kennedy kind of stuff. But yeah, no, I still to this day think a lot of that was started because of Danny and Dash, which is crazy to think about. But that's the way I remember it, you know? Crazy. Do you guys remember that stream? I saw some of you guys were saying it. J Mike Gaming says, I remember that. Yep. Yeah, fascinating times, man. Fascinating times for sure. For sure. But yeah, that was a cool stream, man. So I had a lot of fun last night. We'll do the homework next week, and then we'll figure out next week on stream what are we going to do for the deep dive next month. So that's going to be really cool. I guess let's briefly just talk about Bad Batch before we get into this article. I'm kind of like dying to get into this article, to be honest. But I will just say I haven't actually watched Bad Batch yet at all. I haven't watched a single episode of it yet, but I assume a lot of you guys did. What's your general feelings on Bad Batch? What do you think of Bad Batch? Are you doing X-Men 97 streams? It's going to depend on when they drop it. You know? Because I'm old, man. You know, I'm old and I need my sleeps. You know? Josh, don't read spoilers. Thanks, fam. I mean, I don't really mind spoilers. I'm not going to read spoilers on live because I don't want to spoil you guys. But, yeah, Big Pounds Banana says Super L and it was trash over on Twitch? Wait, divided? People are divided on Bad Batch? What happened to Bad Batch? I gotta watch it later today. Yeah, for real. It may be Saturday mornings. Oh my god, Saturday mornings would be perfect for X-Men 97. That would be awesome. Yeah, that's what I meant. Oh. Something bad happened? Oh, people angry about the sequel connections? Man, if you told me that Star Wars fans would be divided. You know what? I'll just say fucking whiny and divided about next piece of Star Wars content. I would tell you, sounds about right. Sounds about right. You know, one of the kind of funny things about the deep dive that we've been doing with, George Lucas and Star Wars and the creation of that is this fan base is uniquely entitled and uniquely whiny. You know what I mean? And bro, I know that with every fiber of my being. You know, not only do I have like a first-hand experience of being a fan for my life, but I've also been on YouTube for 8 years. I've been covering Star Wars as like a job for like 8 years. So this fan base, and it's just true, man. You look at a lot of other fan bases. You look at Marvel, you look at DC, even Dragon Ball. All fan bases are, entitled, and I think that the passion that comes from being so engaged with some kind of IP or franchise, that kind of comes along with, an attachment and strong feelings about what should be done with character settings, plot, etc. But Star Wars is very unique in just how entitled and divided the fan base is. So that doesn't surprise me in any way, shape, or form. By the way, that's just what it is. If I worked at Lucasfilm or I had some kind of job when it comes to Star Wars, I would be like, yeah, no, that's what we're working with. And, I think you should try to be playful with it. You obviously don't want to chastise people, or have the, what was it, Luke Skywalker fan tears kind of cup and shit like that. You don't want to, like, be a butthole about it. But you also have to acknowledge and understand that, that is what it is. Like, it's a divided, fickled, emotional fan base. So, yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. Setting up the sequels doesn't surprise me either. I mean, do people not realize that that's what's happening? That's what's, they're not, I mean, you guys know they're making the Rey movie, right? They didn't fire Charmin. They didn't throw Daisy Ridley down a set of steps. It's still happening. It's still part of the canon. But alas. La 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 la, I can't hear you. Yeah, I know, right? Doesn't mean people have to like it, though. Well, I'm damn sure many won't. You know what I mean? I'm damn sure many won't. Again, the case in point. You know what I mean? It's that. Welcome to Star Wars, baby. Welcome to Star Wars, baby. So, we'll see. We'll see. I am legitimately excited to check out the Bad Batch episodes. How long are they? The first one's pretty long. It's 3 episodes, right? That's a chunk, man. That's like an afternoon. I'm kind of excited about that. It's a nice chunk, huh? Too long? Oh boy, 30 minutes each. Okay, that's not too bad. So that's like an hour and a half. That's nice. That's nice, man. I'm excited. I'll probably let you guys know what I think about Bad Batch. I mean, I'll tweet about it and stuff. I doubt I'll make a video about it, especially because I got this to do. I wanted to make a video about Spider-Man stuff. I got a lot of things that I'm trying to work on for videos. And also, I got to work on Unity, man. I got to get this freaking Kickstarter, Second Chance Kickstarter going. Oh my God. You know how much I've done for the Second Chance Kickstarter this week? Nothing. So I'm going to have to get that shit figured out tomorrow. So, yeah, got a lot to do. All right. Shall we get in to the Marvel updates? Shall we begin, chat? Let's go on this incredible journey together. And I mean, it's no secret. Marvel in a bit of a weird spot, dealing with a variety of issues and they're trying to kind of revitalize everything, revitalize the brand. And in the wake of them firing Jonathan Majors, and I'm just trying to size this screen right here. Give me 1 second here. In the wake of them firing Jonathan Majors, there's been a lot of questions about what exactly is going on with Marvel behind the scenes. How are they changing things? And again, I spoke to this earlier on in the stream, but you've got people like Daniel that have been, in spite of all of these other people saying that Kang's going to get downplayed, Kang's not coming for a long time, they are shifting things. For whatever reason, Daniel didn't believe that, wanted to report that it wasn't true. And this article here, as far as I understand it, reaffirms that they are going away from Kang. But it also talks about a lot of other stuff. So I want to go through this article. We'll break it all down together. And to me, I think there's even more to the story here than what's going on in this article, because we've just heard so many different rumors. So much is happening right now, and they're retooling. And I think when we get to San Diego Comic-Con this year, which is like maybe one of the things I'm looking forward to the most this year, is what will they tell us / show us at San Diego Comic-Con? Because Comic-Con has always been an anchor for the Marvel machine. Marvel does live off of hype. Hype is an incredibly important part of the formula, and Kevin Feige himself is fully aware of this. He will schedule shooting of particular films simply so that he has footage available to show at Comic-Con. Okay? So this Comic-Con, I think, is going to be a super big deal. I'm really excited to see what they show us. They got to sell us on the vision. They got to sell us on this new version of Marvel. And so I think that we might get some previews in this article of what will be announced at San Diego Comic-Con. So here we go. Let's get into it. How Marvel is quietly retooling amid superhero fatigue. The studio's golden box office aura has been dented, but chief architect Kevin Feige isn't scrapping his years-long cinematic universe plan, just refining it. They're not going to give up, says an insider. Interesting. All right, here we go. Just over, and okay, yeah, you can read it on the screen. Just over a year ago, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was set to take Marvel Studios to the next level. A new villain was going to be introduced, setting the stage for several years' worth of storytelling, and the movie itself was a giant sizing of a franchise that was previously modest in scope. That's true. Instead, the Peyton Reed directed movie heralded a year's worth of missteps, box office blunders, and PR nightmares. It was all uncharted territory for Marvel, which had steadily been generating box office gold for 15 years. Yeah, we've talked about this before, but I'd love to get your take on it, chat. Do you think 2023 was the worst year ever for Marvel Studios? Yes or no? Put it into the chat. Do you think that last year was the worst year ever for Marvel Studios? But the Disney division is in the midst of a pretty darn good February. All things considered, despite the general gloom that surrounds the superhero genre of late, the Super Bowl trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine became the most watched trailer of all time, with 365 million views in 24 hours. Yes, Disney's math includes the 123 million people who tuned in for the game, which included just 30 seconds of the trailer. But Super Bowl fudging or not, the clip's reach was an encouraging number for the studio, whose last movie, The Frickin' Marvels, became the lowest grossing in the MCU's 33 film run, hitting just 206 million globally. Wow, that's crazy, dude. That's wow. Anyway, next came the Valentine's Day unveiling of the cast of the Fantastic Four. Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Evan Moss-Bachrach, and Joseph Quinn, coupled with retro art teasing the 1960s setting of the movie. The Fantastic Four are a cornerstone of the Marvel mythos, with writer Stan Lee and artist Jack Kirby introducing the team in the 1961's Fantastic Four #1, the comic that would initiate the Marvel Universe. So the symbolic launch of the new team carries a lot of weight for the film division. This will be the third incarnation of the Fantastic Four to hit the big screen, not counting the infamous Roger Corman version. A day later, Marvel launched the trailer for X-Men 97, a revival of the 1990s cartoon that debuts in March. The trailer set an internal Disney record as the biggest launch for an animated series on Disney Plus, ahead of other Marvel shows such as What If and any animated Star Wars series. What? Hot damn. That's crazy. So it broke a record for animated trailers, anything Marvel and any Star Wars. Wow, I didn't know that. But I mean, it kind of tracks, right? It kind of tracks. I mean, that show, we've talked about it a lot. That's a huge cornerstone, a huge seminal piece of content for a lot of nerds, a gateway drug into Marvel. So, yeah, I guess that makes sense. These public-facing moves come as studio boss Kevin Feige recalibrates the creative direction behind the scenes. Early in February, the company completed reshoots for Agatha Darkhold Diaries, the WandaVision spin-off starring Catherine Hahn that is expected to hit Disney Plus this fall. Man, I still just really don't care about that show. The company usually budgets 5 days of reshoots into the schedule, but the studio completed the work in just one, fueling a sunny outlook around the show internally, according to sources associated with the series. I mean, that's good. At least they're not wasting a bunch of money on a show that I don't think it's going to be heavily viewed. So, okay, that's a dub. The studio also quietly hired Eric Pearson to polish the script for Fantastic Four, which will shoot this summer in London. Pearson is company stalwart who worked on Thor Ragnarok, Black Widow, and has a reputation for taking projects over the finish line. The stakes for that movie are high, as the studio is still searching for characters and actors who can carry its universe forward after the exits of Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans. Yeah, we'll talk more about this, especially when we get into the Spider-Man story, because it's kind of a damn shame what's going on with like Tom Holland Spider-Man, because I think he's Feige's like best shot at replacing these dudes and kind of carrying the torch like that. Oh shit, I'm gonna sneeze. Why do I feel like there's another one in there? Oh, I forgot to mute that one. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, we'll talk more about that. Rewriting Spider-Man could have replaced them, but Sony playing hardball, not good. Let's keep reading. Marvel also hired Joanna Callow, the showrunner of the acclaimed FX series The Bear, to work on the script for Thunderbolts. Wow. The Hollywood Reporter has learned the film will begin shooting in March in Atlanta. Her hiring adds a flair of prestige to the project, which stars Florence Pugh, and according to sources who has read a previous draft of the script, centers on villains and anti-heroes going on a mission that was supposed to end with their deaths. Ooh, very, very interesting. Okay, now we got to get into the Kang stuff. Here we go. Marvel is also cleaning up the creative mess left in the wake of Jonathan Majors, the once rising actor cast to play the linchpin villain role in the next Avengers movies, but who in December was found guilty of reckless assault in the third degree and harassment in a Manhattan court after domestic industry, blah, blah, blah. Marvel dropped Majors hours after the conviction and is rewriting those movies, which will now either minimize the character or excise him entirely. The first of the new Avengers movies, due out in 2026, was initially titled Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, but will be getting a new title to remove the character's name. Those sources say that even before Major's conviction, the studio was making moves to minimize the character after Quantumania underperformed, grossing $476 million. On the TV side, Marvel has been reorganizing its operations to allow for greater control from showrunners, a move made after the critical failure of the expensive Samuel L. Jackson spy series, Secret Invasion. Literally one of the worst things they've ever made, which sidelined executive producer Kyle Bradstreet after a year with various creative factions vying for influence in his wake. The show had about 2.5 billion minutes of viewing over its 6-week run per Nielsen in the bottom third of Marvel's live-action Disney Plus offerings so far. Wow. Yeah, Secret Invasion was a big old stinker, but again, they are getting showrunners trying to change that. The focus is internal this year, says one insider of all the tinkering going on behind the scenes. Execs are not calling it a reboot, not even a soft one, but more of a creative retooling. It's no secret that since 2019 Avengers Endgame, the company was asked to scale up in an unprecedented way to feed its fledgling streaming service, Disney Plus. Then a top priority for Disney. That's true. I also have like a hair in the back of my throat. Damn, man. What the hell, man? First, under the direction of CEO Bob Iger. Later, his short-lived successor, Bob Chapek. Marvel expanded a TV series and animation with the goal of the MCU becoming a place with seemingly endless procession of year-round releases. It was an ask that proved too unwieldy to sustain. Some of our studios lost a little focus. So the first step that we've taken is that we've reduced volume, Iger said on February 7th earnings call. I don't know if you guys remember this, but that earnings call, oh, God damn it. That earnings call was a disaster for them. I think the stock's still up like 15%. So absolutely horrible for them. We've reduced output, particularly at Marvel, in order to ensure the films you're making can be even better. As the Hollywood strikes ended in November, the studio delayed Captain America New World Order 7 months to February 14th, 2025 to give time to undergo reshoots. Iger touted Captain America 4, starring Anthony Mackie, as among the 2025 Disney releases he was most excited for during his earnings call. He did not mention Blade, leading to speculation that it will be moved from its November 2025 date. It's unlikely Marvel will release 4 films that year, given Iger's mandate to slim down. I agree with that. I tend to believe Blade will be delayed, but I don't think Blade's necessarily in trouble. You know what I mean? The dual writers and actors strikes, while costly to Hollywood, ironically gave Marvel breathing space. It was able to reschedule its movies so that only Deadpool and Wolverine will be released in 2024, and only 2 series, Echo and Agatha, are bowing on Disney Plus this year. Other movies remain in the script stage, while TV shows such as Ironheart have filmed but have no release date in sight. It is all designed to give creatives some breathing room and give audiences the chance to miss the MCU just a little bit. They're not going to give up, says a source who has worked with Marvel over the past year. They want to make something great. Okay, so very interesting here. Couple of different ideas that I have right from the top. I believe this article is probably approved, by Disney, probably approved by Marvel. And I think it's another thing to try to separate them from Madam Web. Like, I know that might seem crazy, but I think an article like this, in some ways, is meant to differentiate them from Madam Web. And the reason I say that is because in this article, it literally says they're having a pretty good February. You know what I mean? So they're literally like trying to make that separation and put that separation into the mind of the fans. Which is crazy because, most of us already know that. But it is the case that a lot of fans are just kind of unsure. And normies and even some critics and maybe Sydney Sweeney herself, maybe Dakota Johnson, don't really know the difference between a Sony Marvel movie and a MCU or Marvel Studios Marvel movie. Okay, so what's the big takeaways here? What's the big takeaways? Well, I think number one, they are suggesting that the Fantastic Four is this massive priority for them. And I think they're really hoping that Pedro as Reed will be able to be sort of one of the new faces of the MCU, which is probably why they were going after such high-profile actors, right? Like Adam Driver was apparently approached. Yeah, they were going for big names with Reed Richards specifically. I find that a bit ironic because I don't think Pedro is a good pick for that role. I'm still not sold on Pedro as Reed Richards, but I don't think you can deny that like Pedro's a very charismatic guy. He's really good and he's carried a lot of franchises, right? And so that seems to be the sort of the logic there. And they're trying to adjust that. By the way, the new rumor, guys, on Fantastic Four is that the movie will take place partially in the 1960s and then partially in present day. This comes from Grace. Grace is saying that she heard is going to be a dual story and have some stuff happening in the past, some stuff happening in the present day. There's also like a lot of rumors suggesting that they're not going to do the female Silver Surfer anymore and they're just going to do Norrin Rad, which is incredible. So I'm hearing some positive things about Fantastic Four. I'm still a little iffy on Pedro, but overall, that's a really important movie for them. Strangely enough, it could be really important based on the fact that Doctor Doom is being set up in that movie towards the end of the film, maybe even a post-credit scene, and there's a lot of speculation that Doctor Doom is going to have a lot to do with the next two Avengers movies, and I hope that is the case. So retooling Darkhold Diaries, but they just did 1 day of reshoots. That's interesting. I really don't care about the show at all. If they do the special at the end of it that includes Wanda, then maybe I would watch it, and maybe I would watch the special at the end with Wanda. But other than that, I really don't care. Thunderbolts, getting another writer attached, a showrunner of The Bear. So they've got the people from The Beef Show. They got the people from The Bear Show. That's kind of interesting. They're really just trying to kind of push that thing forward. And then I think this is maybe the biggest deal. Technically old news, but one of the reasons that it's important to bring this up and clarify is because, again, you had people like Daniel reporting the opposite. Even Disney themselves, around the time of that disastrous earnings call, they put out a document that had Avengers 5 still titled as the Kang Dynasty. And so a lot of people were like, oh, shit, maybe it is the Kang Dynasty. Maybe they are still working on Kang and doing all of that. So let's just read what they're saying here, okay? Marvel has blah, 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 blah. It was initially going to be the Kang Dynasty, but it's getting a new title to remove the character's name. Those sources say that even before Major's conviction, the studio was making moves to minimize the character after Quantumania underperformed. I think that might be all the pertinent information. So let's put that into context. Let's talk about what this means. What this means is that Joanna Robinson was correct. The lady that reported in Variety was correct. And Jeff Loveness was indeed taken off of the Kang Dynasty because they were going away from the Kang character, right? So, again, we've kind of already been on this. There was some question as to whether or not it was true. And I think it's fair to say there's a lot of moving parts. We don't know all of these things, but really reliable people were talking about that. So if you go back to a lot of the reports that we were talking about in the wake of Majors being fired, it appears that that's what's happening. So the way we understand this is in Avengers 5, it was originally going to be 616 Earthbound heroes, and the Council of Kangs were going to come to Earth and like fight them, which honestly just sounds so fucking lame, dude. Like, I don't know. I don't even understand why they would all come to Earth. That seems so stupid. I'm at a place right now where I'm just so over Kang. I don't know how you guys feel, right? But we're months and months and months removed from the Jonathan Majors situation. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, bro, Kang is fucking lame, bro. Like, Kang was just so lame. Like, the coolest version was probably He Who Remains. good scenes, couple of good scenes there. Every other variant of Kang that we've seen was fucking lame. And even the performance from Majors, which is so weird because I think Majors is an incredibly talented actor, but even the choices he made with the Kang variants were like silly, goofy, over the top, ridiculous. This is nothing about Kang that I liked at all. And it becomes like even more the case the more distance I get between Kang. Okay? So that's not going to be happening. What it says here, wait, where's the thing where they said they might remove, exercise him completely. It will minimize the character or excise him entirely, okay? So, why did trade reporters say they're not going to be casting Kang for a long time? Well, because they're not really recasting Kang anymore. They're probably recasting the Beyonder. And they're still going to have the Beyonder come back. But as far as the variants of Kang and having Kang be a big part of it, it's either going to be so minimal that it might as well not be in there. Maybe it's just in there to kind of have at least some through line to what was going on with the council. Or he's going to be removed entirely. Like, entirely. Okay? And this makes me think of reports that Alex Perez had in the wake of that. Okay? And Alex Perez was saying, well, the current plan is essentially for them to sweep it under the rug. Okay? And they're going to retool and rebuild up the multiverse slowly behind the scenes. Some people have even suggested that other villains will be stepping up into the role that Kang had. And I think the way he worded it was filling the vacuum left by the Kangs and by the Council of Kangs. This is also reminding me of people that reported that the end of Loki season 2 would give you a hint as to what Marvel was doing with Kang. I think this is in reference to not only He Who Remains being defeated by Loki, but also the way that they speak about the variants in that final episode. The way they're like, oh, yeah, no, they took care of that guy. We'll keep an eye on him. And that's pretty much the extent of it. And that was a hint there. So through all the reports and all the rumors, it looks like they knew Quantumania wasn't hitting. They knew there was drama with Majors. Even if Majors had been completely exonerated, there's still kind of a stink there. And it's still probably smart for them to change the approach they were going to take, minimize his exposure to the audience. Because some people are just not going to like a dude after somebody gets associated with such behavior. You know what I mean? Like, right, wrong, or indifferent, that is just the way that it is. This is a billion-dollar corporation that is looking to make 4-quadrant movies. They have to take these things into consideration. So what it looks like was they were already retooling Council of Kangs, and they were likely already going to shift to the Beyonder, going to minimize the Council of Kangs. However, they are rewriting the movies again after Majors was charged. They rewrote them again. I was told Marvel was actually shocked that he was charged. And so they kind of like changed their plan again. I think they're going even further away from Kang. And I think there's evidence to suggest that. So what does that mean exactly? Is it possible Doctor Doom is going to be playing a much bigger role? I certainly hope so. I think that would be incredible. You might still have Kang in some way, shape, or form, maybe with the recast, but it's not going to be a focus. It might not even be in the movie, guys. And we're hearing stuff about how Wolverine and Deadpool are now being considered for Avengers 5. So they're changing it to the degree to which they're going to bring in characters that were only going to be in Secret Wars, only going to be in Avengers 6. They're potentially now in Avengers 5. Destin Daniel Crichton, by the way, I absolutely predicted this, totally predicted this. He's been taken off Avengers 5. He will now do Shang-Chi. I personally feel, and this part's speculation, I feel that parts of Shang-Chi, or rather parts of what was going to be in Kang Dynasty, are now going to be in Shang-Chi too. Okay, maybe even Kang. I'm not sure. You know, they could do that. They could have a variant of Kang still for that film and then wrap him up there and Beyonder comes in. I don't really know. But that's what it looks like, guys. It looks like they were already making changes and they're making even further changes to it. So that's kind of the overall take. They're working on the TV side of things, trying to shape stuff up. I will tell you, I guess the sort of bottom line, right? The bottom line, the main takeaway here is that Marvel is in the process of trying to fix Captain America 4, trying to fix Thunderbolts, make them really dope. This is part of the reason why they can't do Spider-Man in time to get it out in 2025. They're very focused on the Fantastic Four. That's a huge deal for them. And then I think after that, you'll begin to get into stuff that is really focused on the multiversal war and setting all that sort of stuff up and kind of getting us to Secret Wars. So that's kind of the overall take. But I definitely want to know what you guys think about all of this. What do you think, chat? What do you think? Also, I really wish this hair wasn't in the back of my throat. Who cares about Fantastic Four? I mean, I care about Fantastic Four, but I will tell you a lot of what I love about Fantastic Four is not even the Fantastic Four. You know, like I like Reed, but his kids are more interesting. Doom is more interesting. Galactus is more interesting. The Silver Surfer is more interesting. It's kind of like what the homie said. What's his name again? Krennic. It's kind of like what he said. The Fantastic Four kind of suck. It's all the stuff around them that are incredible, including the Skrulls. I've seen Pedro become evil, gets replaced with a female character, and Invisible Woman becomes the lead. Yeah, that's not true. I'll say it again, just in case. This article was a nothing burger. I mean, I disagree. I think it's a massive deal because I think it's Marvel and Disney signaling the actual changes that they're making and sort of dispelling the misinformation that's out there. To me, massive deal. Is it stuff that we had heard before? For sure. But now it is corroborated. It is like crystallized. Like there's no, you can't, there, it was up for interpretation. And even when they put out the document, I think it was, what was it, 2 weeks ago now? 2 weeks ago, when they put out the document that had the Kang Dynasty on there, the amount of people that took that and ran with it, claiming that the movie was going to be Kang Dynasty and they're still doing Kang and all this sort of stuff, like, the amount of people that did that, it was infuriating to me, you know? But I can't really blame them either. Like, that information did come out from Disney. So, yeah, I think if anything, it kind of just confirms and clarifies the story. Isn't Cap 4 basically an entirely different movie now with these reshoots? Is it an entirely different movie? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think so. I don't think so, although it is a lot of reshooting. You know what I mean? When it comes to Captain America 4, the only thing we know for sure right now, and I shouldn't even say for sure, but the thing that's like widely reported is that they're bumping up the action sequences. Okay, so they want the action sequence to be much better. They are removing the Serpent Society. Like, you might get one of them still, but you're not going to have this sort of B plot that starts the movie with them, and then you have to defeat them and figure out who they're working for and all this sort of stuff. They took that out of the movie. And I've heard that they're making it less related to real world politics. You know what I mean? Whatever that means. That's something I've heard, is that they want to remove it from real world politics. So, is that a totally different movie? I don't know. Maybe. I guess. Josh, I DM'd you on Twitter. What if FF book where Reed looks like Pedro? Okay, cool. I'll check that out. I'll check that out. I'm just waiting to see the leaked photo of Harrison Ford in the mocap suit. Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool. I imagine this is referring to Sabra. My understanding is that Sabra is still in there. But it's possible they'll adjust what she's doing in the movie. So, like, the thing is, it's obviously going to be a political movie. It's called Brave New World. It deals with international politics. It's about a Red Hulk becoming the president. So you can't make it non-political. I'm not saying it's going to be non-political, but I think that what you need to do is make it as escapist as possible. Like, if there's conflict in there that reminds the audience of the conflict in the Middle East, take it out. Like James Gunn did, and he changed his script. You know, good idea. If there's allegories to MAGA and Trumpism via Red Hulk, take it out of there. Just take it out of there. Like, literally, worst idea, worst thing that you could do in such a divided political climate to do something like that. So I would remove that kind of stuff, but it's still going to be political, obviously. You know, so yeah, I'm really hoping that that's true and that that's something that they're working on, like the prequels did with politics. Yeah, man, more trade routes and blockades and Senate debates. You know what I mean? Yeah. The fact that it's a red guy, escapist, but the Middle East stuff, yeah, I get it. Hot button. But if it's tribalism stuff, get over it, in my opinion. Only in my opinion. Dude, no, I mean, look, it's totally fine, but it's probably fair to say that, like, you're not a person that's going to be particularly bothered by that, right? I don't even think I'm a person that would be particularly bothered by it. The way I will be bothered by it is that I have to come in and stream to a bunch of people that are going to be really bothered by it. Meaning, like, why do that? Like, why would you do that? Like, real talk. Like, what you look at the fact that American politics are maybe more divisive than ever. It'll be following an election year. Originally, they were going to do this in an election year. Can you believe how stupid that is? They were going to do it in an election year. So now it's going to be after an election year. I don't think you need any of that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need any of that energy. Like, why would you welcome any of that? You're making a 4-quadrant superhero movie, but you want it to be, like, deliberately politically divisive? Like, that's pretty silly, dude. You know what I mean? So here's to hoping that they've sort of wised up on that and they're not going to do it anymore. Do you have any ideas of what the Avengers team will be? You mean in Avengers 5? Well, I think the Earthbound heroes, it's probably, like, we know who that's going to be. I mean, right? It's going to be Cap. Oh, my God. Do we know who it's going to be? Okay, look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. It is probably just the shitty Avengers. It's all the shitty ones. Okay? Like, let me just say this. Let me just say, like, who are the shittiest Avengers? You tell me, chat. Who are the worst fucking Avengers right now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Who are the worst Avengers? Captain Marvel. Yeah, she's probably in it. She-Hulk. Yep, probably. Thor? You think Thor is shitty? Dude, I still love Thor. Like, even despite that whole movie and Taika doing all his thing. Ant-Man? Yeah, probably. Shang-Chi? Dude, I like Shang-Chi. I gotta stand up for Shang-Chi, man. I think he's actually one of the good ones. But yeah, he's probably gonna be in it too. Black Panther? Yeah, Shuri Black Panther. Probably gonna be in it. Cardigan wearing Hulk? Yeah, probably gonna be in it. Kate Bishop? Yeah, probably gonna be in it. Yeah. Bland Bucky? Yeah, you know what they should do for Thunderbolts is just have Bucky, like, popping Xanax every 5 minutes and just, like, being a total zombie in the film, because that's pretty much what they did with him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Just go all the way with it. You know what I mean? Ironheart, yeah. Shitty Avenger, probably going to be in it. Here's the thing, though. I think, and this is speculation. I want to be clear. This is speculation. Cassie Lang, oh my God. I hope not. This is speculation. Let me explain this. I think a lot of the Earthbound Avengers stuff will now happen in Shang-Chi too. And I think the actual Avengers 5 is going to get way crazier, way faster. So, like, you're not going to go see the next Avengers movie and have to suffer through all these shitty Avengers that we know are just going to lose to the Beyonder. Like, I'm pretty sure they're going to shift into gear pretty quickly. So that's why they're talking about Wolverine and Deadpool coming into Avengers 5. I mean, honestly, like, you really want to satisfy the fans? Have Deadpool come in and literally murder all of those lame-ass Avengers, turn to the camera and say, I got you, nerds. Now let's have some fun. That would legitimate, and I know, oh, it's a bridge too far. Oh, how dare you, crazy. It would be fucking amazing. Just like people cheered when Thanos punched the shit out of Captain Marvel. Dude, that would be a standing ovation. A standing ovation. But literally, you'd be in the middle like, woo, let's go. And of course, you know, I'm exaggerating and I'm joking, but it's also true. Like, that's how bad the current Avengers Squad. I mean, even in this article, they're talking about how they're like, yeah, man, we need Pedro because we ain't got nobody, man. We ain't got no stars in this Marvel thing right now. Nobody's carrying the torch. Nobody gives a shit about any of these characters. So, you know what I say. Just bring them back. Just bring them back. I'll kill Wade myself if he's touching Monica. Well, Monica's not even in that universe. Right? So, I think Monica's probably safe. But then again, what if Monica's in Deadpool 3? Wouldn't that be interesting? Wouldn't that be interesting? Yeah. Yeah, we'll see about that. Okay, so overall take, I am encouraged by the report. I'm encouraged by the plans, but there's a lot of questions, and we still have to wait and see, like, what are they actually going to announce at San Diego Comic-Con? I'm personally a little bit frustrated that they're putting so much time and energy into, like, fixing Captain America 4 and Thunderbolts. However, if I see Captain America 4 and I'm like, damn, like, that kind of slapped. That was kind of lit. I'll probably be okay. But the opposite is true as well. If they spent all this money, all this time, they're putting Spider-Man 4 on the back burner, X-Men on the back burner, further, all this shit on the back burner, and then we go see Captain America 4 and it's mid. Oh my God. I'm going to lose my mind. So hopefully that doesn't happen. As far as Thunderbolts, like, yeah, man, like, I get it. You know, you don't want to cancel the movie. You want to move forward to it. Make it as good as it possibly can be. If the Sentry's freaking awesome, if the movie's really dark and, like, a lot of those characters get ripped apart, you know, I'd be cool with that. I'd probably be all right with that. But it's really all about the movies after that. I mean, Blade, I think Blade, you technically consider Blade in that ballpark as well. Like, yo, am I crazy? Or was it 2019 when they announced Captain America 4? Like, am I crazy? Or was it 2019? It was 2020? It was 2021? No, dude, it was either 2020 or 2020 or 2019. 2019 was Falcon and the Winter Soldier announcement. Interesting. Okay, well, either way, it's been a while, man. And I would just really like to, like, have that movie and get moving into the good stuff. I mean, I feel like we've been talking about that movie for years. like the movies that excite me, like the things that actually, to me, make me think like Marvel will be able to turn it around. It's like Spider-Man 4, Doctor Strange 3, Shang-Chi 2, you know, maybe a World War Hulk. And then the Battle World projects are really exciting too. Late 2020, Disney presentation. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. All right, let's move on to a couple of different things. Let's move on. I want to talk. Oh, okay. Dealer's choice. I'll let you guys pick. Do you guys want to talk about Star Wars? Or do you want to talk about Batman Beyond? What do you think? Star Wars? Batman? Bad Batch? I haven't watched Bad Batch, so I can't really talk about it. Yeah, looks. I see more Batman, dude. I see more Batman. We'll talk about Batman, and then we'll talk about Mandalorian and Grogu. Okay? So let's look this up. This is crazy to me. Oh, and I gotta... Wait, am I live twice right now on here? I need to delete this. Delete that one. Okay, cool. Check this out, man. This is wild. This is so crazy to me. It's so crazy. All right, so this account here, Yuki Demers, and I am guaranteeing I didn't pronounce that correctly. I can't pronounce a goddamn thing. I'm dumb. Don't hold it against me. 5 months ago, Patrick Harpin walked into Warner Brothers Pictures, DC official, and pitched a Batman Beyond animated feature. Before we pitched, they warned us there is absolutely no way we can do a Beyond movie, but they loved our enthusiasm. We pitched the outline for the entire film, and what started as a never turned into a maybe. In the time since, we've been pitching our way up the company, hoping to get to James Gunn. He'll probably just tell you to let it go. If you know, you know. But for now, here's a taste of what we've been cooking. Like and share if you want to see a Batman Beyond animated feature film from writer-director Patrick Harpin, my dad, the bounty hunter, and production designer Yuki Demers, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse. So they shared some of the images here. And so, yeah, no, it's definitely very Across the Spider-Verse. You know what I mean? It's definitely got the vibe. But, oh my God, do I want to see this movie, dude. Like, this looks incredible. Like, this looks so fun, dude. And, you know, I think the Spider-Verse movies really set a new bar for what you can do with big characters and high-level animated features. You know what I mean? I think Into the Spider-Verse is maybe the best Spider-Man movie ever made. And I really like Across the Spider-Verse, too. Like, Across the Spider-Verse it's incredible. It's a masterpiece. Like, it's really, really good. Crazy that it came from Sony. But, yeah, I just wanted to share this with you guys and kind of get your opinions on it. I think it's cool that they're trying to go through social media to kind of get it spread out there more. Kind of reminds me a little bit of when the first Deadpool animatic or VFX thing was leaked. Like, you guys remember that? Like, apparently the studio didn't really want to make a Deadpool movie. So Ryan Reynolds is the person that, well, we don't know for sure, right? But we feel like Ryan Reynolds is the person that leaked the action sequence of Deadpool. It goes viral, and they end up getting a budget and creating Deadpool 1, and the rest is history. I mean, you know what? 10 years later now, we're about to have Deadpool and Wolverine. It's the shot of life into the arm of Marvel. Reminds me of how certain actors or actresses campaign with fan art to try to get a role. And that line is kind of blurred between social media and, just kind of getting it out there on those platforms and then how the studio responds to it. I would absolutely love if this movie got made, and if it got made directly because of this post and them being so bold here. And they also have a pitch. So it's not like it's just an idea. They have they have a whole story. You know what I mean? They have a whole pitch. They have beats for it. And so I mean, what do you guys think? It's been viewed about 4 million times. Not as many times as Paul from Heavy Spoilers tweet about Renee Zellweger. God, what a sexist pig that guy is, huh? But still, I mean, 4 million views is pretty solid, and there seems to be some buzz and some hype and some excitement about it. What do you guys think? They gotta pitch this to Gunn? Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. What's James Gunn even doing? You know, besides lying on Twitter and telling Joe Manganiello to let it go. Did you guys see that? I don't want to get totally distracted, but did you guys see that? He literally told this dude to let it go. Like, holy shit, man. Tim's pitch for Batman Beyond was Spider-Man in a Batman costume in the future. Well, that feels pretty good. That feels on point. God damn it, Paul. I know, right? I would need to see like dates and homages. I thought they coexisted pretty independently, but I could be wrong, low-key. You know, DC has the ability to do pretty much anything they want, right? I think Gunn has the Elseworlds or something like that, right? Because the Batman and the Batman 2 and all of that, that's not going to be the DCU. Joker's not going to be DCU. Shazam's always been his own thing. Remember when that dude said that? God damn it. So they have the ability to do this, but they are also aware of, brand dilution. Like, I think it recently came out that they canceled Superman and Lois because Superman Legacy is coming out. And they don't want like a brand confusion and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I find it interesting because this looks awesome, and I think this would be something fans would really, really like and really enjoy. And it's not as though animation isn't a part of their plan. And in fact, I think the first thing you're going to see that's in the DCU is going to be Creature Commandos, which is like an R-rated, like, weird D-level group of heroes. You know what I mean? Like, it's just weird that is going to lead the entire DCU slate. And you've got this, which I think not only passes the smell test, but is like a no-brainer. Like, we talk about this all the time, right? We talk about how the studios are very stupid, and there must be something in the water in Hollywood, because they just keep making really stupid decisions over and over again. It's weird that there seems to be such a disconnect between what fans would obviously want and what the studios are willing to greenlight. You know, I mean, Madam Web is an example of that. Craven is an example of that. Like, Sony is somehow convinced that they can make these movies that, I mean, if you find me a fan that wants what Sony is doing, making villain stuff and movies without an actual Spider-Man, and I don't know if that's an actual Spider-Man fan, you know? So just kind of wanted to shine a light on this and say that if they do this, they're really smart. If they don't do this, especially now that it's out there, I think we have the right to hold it against them. Like, I think as a fan, we have the right to feel like we are being robbed of something that is just a no-brainer. Like, this would be incredible. So Just kind of wanted to throw that out there, man, because I'm really hoping this thing comes out. Like, I would be there day one. Big old bucket of popcorn, a nice large soda, and I would be really excited to watch a feature-length Batman Beyond movie in this style of animation. I don't know about you guys, but this shit looks awesome to me. Shit looks awesome. I don't want more Spider-Verse knockoffs. I wonder how many people agree with that. Because I did see that expressed a little on Twitter, and it is very close. Like, I mean, it stylistically seems a lot like Spider-Verse. But isn't Spider-Verse, like, awesome? Like, didn't you have a good time, like, seeing Spider-Verse? Sometimes I don't understand the audience. Poll it? That's a good idea. Let's go to the polls. So how do I even poll this? Should I say... How do I say this? Do you not want this because it's too similar to Spider-Verse? Is that a good way to phrase it? I think that might be the way to do it. I'm curious. Super curious. What in God's name is going on there? I just think it looks fucking awesome, dude. And I think you have the ability to do just crazy fighting, crazy almost like Iron Man tech type stuff. Oh, man, I want it. Oh, man, I want it, and I want it bad. On a side note, Josh, you're going to see Dune 2. Heard the reactions have said it's a masterpiece. Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. West Coast Nerd Avengers, I will talk to you, but I'll address that when we go over Q&A. But that is a big problem, man. It's a tough one. So I'll go into a whole diatribe about it. The double negative means we want it, right? I don't know, man. Do you not want it? I don't know. Really wish we could have gotten more Michael Keaton Batman Beyond. Shame that it was planned but canceled. Yeah, that's true. Maybe they get Keaton to voice him in this movie. That'd be kind of cool. Josh, have we talked about issue 2 of Ultimate Spider-Man? You mean the preview? Because it's not out yet. Right? Unless it came out. Did it come out today? What the fuck? I don't think it did. The preview looked cool, though. That phrasing is like when we did over-unders. You mean over-unker? Wait, what? It's out today? What? I thought it wasn't coming out till next month. Oh my God. We gotta end the stream. I gotta go read this shit right now. What? All right, guys. Well, it's been real. I appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys later. I'm just kidding. But I am excited to read that. That's cool, man. I am. Okay, one more story that I want to go over. And then we'll get into the Q&A. Okay. Gods came out today too. Oh, it's a good day, baby. It's a good day, man. It's a pretty hilarious issue. That's cool. I'm excited. That's cool. I'm excited. Okay. So we have to talk about the next Star Wars movie that's coming out, The Mandalorian and Grogu. Question for you guys. How excited are you for The Mandalorian and Grogu? What's your hype level for the movie out of 10? Okay. Now, couple of different things just recently came out with regards to The Mandalorian and Grogu. And unfortunately, I think these updates are not going to inspire a lot of confidence. They're not necessarily bad news. I think they make sense. But I think given context around what's happening to this movie and a lot of other stuff that we've heard, it doesn't necessarily inspire much confidence. Okay? So let's talk about the production. And I'm over on Bespin Bulletin, okay? This was his exclusive. It says here, according to my sources, filming on The Mandalorian and Grogu will run from June until October, making it a 4-month-long shoot. For comparison, the last season of The Mandalorian, season 3, filmed from late September 2021 until March 2022, a 6-month shoot. And that's just for principal photography, and reshoots pickups did happen later on. If all goes according to plan, Lucasfilm will have plenty of time to get The Mandalorian and Grogu ready for a 2026 release. So that's the first bit of news. The second bit of news has to do with the budget. I'm reading again from this article here. It says, one thing Jeff Snyder, the In-Snyder, has repeatedly mentioned in his podcast, The Hot Mic, is that Disney is looking to spend less on their films. For example, Snyder has shared that Disney didn't want to pay high fees for the Fantastic Four cast, and Blade would be made for under $100 million. This leads me into a minor tidbit I'd heard from a singular source. The budget for The Mandalorian and Grogu isn't as high as what season 3 of The Mandalorian would cost. The first season of The Mandalorian was reported to cost $15 million an episode. This brings the budget to around $120 million for the first season. We don't know if the series became more expensive with each season, but you assume it would have, especially with season 3 in particular. It's also been reported that Skeleton Crew, upcoming live action from John Watts, is the most expensive LA-based Star Wars series at $136 million. So with that in mind, expect the Mandalorian and Grogu movie to have a budget of $120 million or less. Okay, so on the one hand, as Trev is repeating in chat over and over again, you can explain the difference because you've got 8 hours of content versus maybe 2.5 hours at most of content. Okay. But I personally think it's not exactly an inspiring bit of information. Okay. So for instance, most Star Wars movies, the budget of most Star Wars movies, not the OT, but we're talking about the prequels and the sequels, is $200 million. I think even more for some of them. In fact, let's see if we can look that up. What was the budget for these Star Wars movies? Let's figure this out. This is kind of interesting. What's the production budget of every Star Wars movie? Let's see what kind of information we can get here. But you're talking about big movies, right? That cost a lot of money. Now, Marvel, as he says in the article, and this is something Jeff has talked about, a lot of different people have talked about, Disney is trying to spend less on these shows and on all these movies. I think you can make a Blade movie. You can even make a Midnight Suns movie for like $100 million. You know? Horror is traditionally pretty cheap to shoot. That's why Hollywood loves it, right? Horror is pretty cheap to shoot. You don't have a lot of high-profile talent in there. I mean, Blade's probably the highest profile. Apparently, they're thinking about like Michael Giacchino. He does not come with a high price tag. So, you know, that's something. And so on face value, you could say, well, Mandalorian and Grogu shooting for only 4 months, having the lowest budget of any Star Wars movie in the last 20 years is not necessarily devastatingly bad news. But I think when you add the context of nobody knowing that this movie was happening, Disney pivoting into making the 4th season of The Mandalorian into this film at sort of a dizzying, shocking pace, like everybody was surprised. Everybody was taken off guard. And, you know, the comments made by Dave in that one interview we watched a couple of weeks ago doesn't exactly inspire confidence. So I think when you add in the fact that they're basically like, we need a Mandalorian and Grogu movie. They're kind of audible at the line, like, oh shit, here we go. And you add in the fact that the movie itself is going to only shoot for 4 months and have arguably a pretty low budget. I mean, it just doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. You know what I mean? It doesn't get me super excited for The Mandalorian and Grogu. I got a lot of questions about what is this movie? Who's in this movie? And how is it possible that this movie is going to be very epic and big in scope? Or maybe it won't be. Like, I'm curious, guys. Do you think that if this movie is basically just an extended episode of The Mandalorian and it doesn't necessarily have anything really crazy going on, it's just Grogu and Mando hanging out, but it's on the silver screen? Like, would you consider that to be okay? Like, would you be all right with that? Or do you think if you are taking a show and putting it into the movie theaters, you've got to kind of amp it up? I mean, I thought one of the benefits of going into the movies was that you could spend more money on it. Like, isn't that the whole idea? Because you have a big long tail cash flow of theatrical releases, which you don't necessarily have on a streaming service. Right? As long as we see the sex scene, says Trinity. Oh, hell yeah. No, I've heard the Grogu stuff's really going to pop off. You know what I mean? So I'm sure you're looking forward to that. Now, again, this doesn't mean it's a disaster. But I think just throw another log on the fire of like, I'm fucking concerned. You know, because I am. Like, what? What is this movie? And what is happening? Like, it feels like they've just kind of scrunched 2 episodes together. And I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I want to feel like we're being presented some epic Star Wars adventure that is worthy of the silver screen, that is worthy of like a $20 IMAX ticket, that is worthy of all of that. And I don't know. This to me feels a little bit like, what the hell are we doing here? What is this movie? Why are they doing this? And so I wanted to share it with you guys because, frankly, it is concerning. It makes me a little bit more concerned about the movie. Like, I can just imagine being like 40 minutes into the movie and thinking to myself, like, yeah, this could have just been on Disney Plus. I don't really understand what the fuck we're doing here. Oh my God. You know what I mean? And that's not gonna be a positive experience. And I don't think that's gonna be positive for the fan base. The whole idea with this movie is programming, meaning they don't want the Rey movie to be the first movie in 7 years. They want something more bankable. They want something with more mass appeal. And so the Mandalorian and Grogu it's a programming move. It's supposed to make you feel good early in the year, and perhaps you feel so good that you're more willing to go watch the Rey movie later that year. That's the whole idea. So just wanted to pass this information along to you, talk about why I'm concerned, and obviously open up the question for you guys. Like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? We want efficiency. The movie being expensive means nothing. We want efficiency. I mean, if you're a shareholder, I could see that. I think the audience doesn't care either way. You know what I mean? Look, we've obviously seen movies lately that are very expensive, that look like shit, and that are not fun. So it doesn't just automatically mean, oh, expensive budget equal good movie, right? Like that doesn't translate. But again, given the context, like we have to recognize this is a Hail Mary of sorts. This is something they just did they pivoted. Look, I've spoken to people that are like, this movie's going to be ass. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. I'm hoping not. But this story doesn't like run counter to that. There's nothing here where I'm like, oh, cool. You know what I mean? Like, I got to be honest with you. If the opposite came out, if they were like, hey, this movie's going to cost them $300 million, I'd get a little excited. I'd be like, oh my God, $300 million? This shit's going to be crazy. Do you know what I mean? Like, you'd be like, dude, oh my God, what are they doing with $300 million? Holy shit. Yeah. Peep my super. Do you think they could be shooting short and low budget because they're using stuff they already did and pay for under season 4? I don't think they can do that. I'm not super familiar with how that all works, but I'm pretty sure it's heavily regulated and there's like guilds and unions and shit. So I don't think they can do that. Yeah, I don't really know. Yeah. This info would be different if we knew what the movie was about. Yeah. That's true. I mean, I think it's kind of unfortunate that the pitch is all we know. We don't really know anything about the plot or the narrative. We just know the pitch. Like, the pitch is basically Mandalorian and Grogu on the big screen. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it is. So, here's the hoping, man. You know, hoping it's going to be good. I hope so. Okay, is there something else that... Well, I wanted to maybe talk about the Spider-Man news, but I might just save that for a video, to be honest. I might just save it for a video. Maybe we should just get into Q&A, huh? I'm going to put this... I want to show you guys this. I want to show you guys this shit, man. Battlefront 1 and 2 OG is coming to the new consoles with new content. That is pretty cool. That is pretty chill. Damn, you're going to skimp us on the Spider-Man news? Lame. Well, the Spider-Man news, like, I could TLDR it for you, but basically Sony and Marvel are fighting. Sony wants it to come out in 2025. They want it to be multiversal. They want it to be this big, huge movie. And Feige and Tom Holland want it to be more grounded. Feige says he cannot make it in 2025 because he's too busy fixing Thunderbolts and Captain America 4. There's a little bit more to it, but I can talk about it in the video. You know, because there's some leaks and rumors out there about it too. didn't you already do this in a video? I did. There's new updates about it from Daniel about like Tom Rothman, Amy Pascal. Some of it involves like Miles Morales. I think at the end of the day, not to be like hyperbolic, but this could kind of make or break the Marvel thing. Like, this entire situation with Spider-Man could make or break what Feige's trying to do. I mean, I feel bad for the guy. And I also feel bad for Tom Holland. Like, Tom Holland is a child of divorce. You know what I mean? And he's being pulled in these two directions. And like, you know, part of me like understands where Sony is at. I understand where Feige's at. I think they both need Spider-Man 4 to be very successful. So, yeah. React to the Goat Life trailer. Goat Life trailer? No, I'm chill. I'm chill on that. Backshots Holland. No, you don't say that. Why don't they buy Sony? Disney doesn't have the ability to buy Sony. I don't even think Disney has the ability to buy the Spider-Man license. I don't think Sony would ever sell it back. Spider-Man thing is like huge. It's huge for them. All right, guys, I'm going to get into Q&A. I'm going to go over the member chats, the super chats, and all of that. I do want to say as well, if you want to become a member, you can become a member here on YouTube. It supports the channel, gets you all kinds of benefits, but you can also become a member over on the Twitch. And we will be doing a drawing for the $200 GameStop gift card for a lucky member on Friday. You thought I was going to say today? No, we're going to do that on Friday. So, yeah, make sure you sign up. You can also sign up for both. If you have Amazon Prime, you get to become a Twitch sub for free. I think they're going to change that, actually. Did I say Amazon? No, GameStop gift card. GameStop. Although we could change it to Amazon. Maybe that would be better for everybody, frankly. But yeah, so we'll do that on Friday. You got a chance to sign up. You could sign up over on Twitch for free with Prime, and you get an extra entry to win the $200 GameStop gift card. I can't believe he told Joe Manganiello to let it go. Sheesh. Sheesh. Okay, let's get into the Q&A, man. Go over the soupies and the members and all that. Adam D says, currently sitting on a plane that has been delayed 2.5 hours and counting. Thankfully, the stream popped up to make this easier to sit through. My God, bro. What's going on? Why is it delayed so much? I hope you got in the air, man. Prez says, I recently convinced this old man I know at work who hasn't watched Star Wars since the OG came out to watch Mando. He finally finished it and even watched Boba, and he said he loved it. Made my day. Oh, that's great, dude. Yeah, that's cool. That is super cool, man. Yeah, I had this moment, man. I was talking about this earlier, but I had this moment last night, and I was even reflecting on this morning because I went to the barber shop really early this morning, and it's a new shop. I had never been in there before, and my barber was like a Star Wars fan. He had like some Clone Wars kind of stuff, and we ended up striking up a conversation about it. Really cool guy. But it makes you understand how big of a deal Star Wars is to so many different people. And I think the most hardcore among us, it can be very divisive. It can be very toxic. And like I said, the Star Wars fan base is like uniquely entitled and whiny. But if you take a step back from that and think about how many positive experiences you've had because of Star Wars, even because of Disney Star Wars, I was able to have some incredible experiences with other Star Wars fans, even going to the movies and making that a thing. It was cool. So we were kind of talking about last night, like, will there be this thing with the prequels where people kind of got over a little bit the narrative shifts and then people appreciate the prequels more? Will that happen with the sequels? I'm not really sure, but I think at the very least what might happen is you'll have fans be able to at least admit that, we had some cool Star Wars experiences. And that wouldn't have happened without Disney. Like, I don't think George was making any more movies. There's debate on that, but, George has actually been on record saying both. It's kind of hard to follow the truth. But I don't think they were going to make more movies. So you do kind of owe Disney and Kathleen Kennedy. You do kind of owe them for at least creating some of these experiences. Like, I would have never done Nerd Theory, would have never met Theory, never would have, hung out with as many of you Star Wars fans as I have without Disney Star Wars. You know what I mean? I'm sure the chat will react to that wonderfully. John Van Gelderand Jr., one of my favorite names of the game, says, finally got to make a live, completely unrelated. But how about that Elden Ring DLC trailer? Yo, what's the deal with that trailer, man? What's the deal with that trailer? Like, is it just a bunch of new bosses? I wanted there to be, like, the PvP. Remember when they found that big arena in Elden Ring? Elden Ring's, like, one of the best. It's one of the best video games ever, dude. Love Elden Ring. Y'all play Elden Ring? You know about Elden Ring? What is the DLC? Is it just like new bosses and new story? Because I don't know if that would pull me back. I kind of want like new features and stuff like that. It's a big expansion. I still got to play it. I got bored of it. What the fuck? It's a whole story DLC. They already dropped the PvP arena. They did drop the arena? Oh, wow. Interesting. I mean, I like Elden Ring. Maybe I'll check it out. Mr. Lucky says, yo, Josh, just want to say, keep up the amazing streams and content. No Avengers for life. P.S. Unity. Oh, hell yeah, man. I'm excited. I got to get to work on Unity, though. We got to get ready for Friday. Second chance Kickstarter, baby. Let's go. Mariana says, I miss you on Nerd Theory, Josh. Hasn't been the same since you left. Ryan and Mahler are such mood killers, in my opinion. Well, I appreciate the sentiment. I haven't really watched the show since I left. But I'll say what I always say. We obviously had something really special there. A lot of people really liked it. It was like a huge show for many years. I still get people talking about it every day, much to Kendall's chagrin. And so I understand it. It just means that we made an impact. You know what I mean? It just means that it meant something to people and they really, really liked it. But all good things must end. But keep bringing it up because it triggers Kendall. Let's go. Rhett Proctor says, I just want Doctor Doom to be insanely powerful, just like Marvel Ultimate Alliance. He destroyed every hero with Odin's power. Hell yeah, man. We need Doctor Doom to be incredible, man. You need Doctor Doom to be incredible. And oh, man, I love me some Doctor Doom. Oh, man, I love me some Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom, let's go. So yeah, that would be fucking awesome, dude. I hope we get it. Rob Karts says, sorry, had to clear my throat. Whenever She-Hulk came out, that was the worst year. When did She-Hulk come out? Because I don't know, man. I mean, She-Hulk was bad, but I feel like last year was wow. Like, whoo, bad. Rupert says, you don't meet many people named Rupert. Bets, is Blade going to be awesome 3000? Yes or no? Is Blade going to be awesome 3000? I mean, think about that, Rupert. Yeah, I think Blade's going to be pretty cool. I think Blade's going to be pretty cool. I like Lilith. I think Lilith's cool. Rumor is his daughter's in it, and Lilith wants his daughter so that she can make an army of daywalkers. That seems cool. So, yeah, I think Blade will be good. Rupert. Ben says with the 10 spot, very generous, says, yo, love the channel, brother. Thanks for all the content as always. Thanks, man. That's very, very kind of you. Thank you. Parker Gonzo says, Battlefield 1+2 servers coming back on 3/14. Oh, hell yeah. That'll be cool. If it's, I mean, maybe we could get in there and have a bunch of, wait, Rob, what did you say? Bro, we need to talk, man. Everything is in such disarray, and it's all so easy to fix. You mean like Marvel or Star Wars? Or all of it? Rob! Good to see you, brother. What was this question? Oh, I was going to say, maybe we could get together and do like a session where we all get into a server. Oh, Marvel, Sony, and the Multiverse Saga. Yeah, man. Yeah. But look, Rob, you and I already agree on what they should do. Like, we already know, dude. Like, you got all the Kangs in the arena. Okay. Doctor Doom comes out. You know? And just fucking blasts them all, bro. Just like, but just like, you know, there's that scene in, I think it was Ultimate Alliance, where Doom's just like taking people out and just, you know? That's the one, man. That's the one. I'll call Rob if he wants me to call him, but let's get through the super chats first, and then I'll call Rob. Or the scene from Avengers, New Avengers. What scene are you talking about, bro? What scene are you talking about? Gods know better. The very worst of men know better. Yes. By the way, I'm still going to send you Chapter 1 of Unity, Rob. I'm sorry. I'm horrible. When the map makers attack Latveria. I can't remember that scene exactly, to be honest with you. I can't remember that scene exactly. But I do love the scene when fucking Namor comes to Doom to try to join the Cabal. And Doom's literally like, you bitch-ass Atlantean. You should have came to me first. Doom's nobody's second choice. Get the fuck out of my castle. And that's that kind of energy we need, bro. That's that kind of energy we need. We need that Doctor Doom energy. Rhett Proctor says, so what villains could be besides Doctor Doom, and can he come from the Masters of Evil? So I think there's a lot of potential villains, right? So I think like Ultron is one. Like, here's what I was thinking about. Consider, okay, so let's just think about the multiverse. Think about the multiverse for a minute. So there are infinite versions of heroes and villains as far as variants. So like within that framework, what villains would probably begin to amass power as the multiverse collapse? So I think it's pretty simple. Like you'd have Red Skull, you'd have Ultron, you'd have Thanos. You know, Thanos wins, or like a variant like that. Doctor Doom. Potentially Magneto, Apocalypse, maybe. I mean, who else? Who else do you guys think could amass such power? Right? The Collector, potentially, I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. Ooh, Maestro, or the Maestro, that would be great. That would be great. Annihilus, perhaps. Galactus, perhaps. But that's kind of like, when I think of that question, like, that's what I was thinking about. Like, I had this thought, bro. Because I did a video I want to say it was like last week or the week before about like Thanos and King Thanos becoming the variant. So I think this is kind of an interesting intellectual exercise. Take these villains and do a version of Loki, like the Loki show, with them. Meaning, imagine Thanos being brought to the TVA and understanding what Loki came to understand. Do you know what I mean? And imagine what that would do to him. Like, and I think that would be so cool. And, you know, Red Skull's a really interesting one, too. Because, you know, the Red Skull from 616 was taken to Vormir. He has some kind of cosmic knowledge. The Spectre of Red Skull, he has some kind of cosmic knowledge now. So that would be fascinating to see like a character like that, right? Aaliyah says, if Daniel has been wrong about Kang, maybe he's wrong about Sony's threat. That Spider-Man 4 has to be the next year in multiversal, verse, street level, etc. Yeah, so look, this one's tough because I think it's normal to be like, okay, so if Daniel can't be trusted, then he just can't be trusted. But that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you have to watch the way in which Daniel reports, look for how other people are reporting, and understand the bias that he has. And I think the bias is pretty simple. I think he just leans progressive politically. I think his bias is more towards like that kind of fan. You know what I mean? And also, like, here's the other thing. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe it's just as simple as Daniel reported that Kang was still involved, and so he's just has a bias to keep supporting that. Like confirmation bias, right? Like where he's like, oh no, like I've reported that Kang is still involved and that they're not going away from Kang. So therefore, I'm going to filter all the information I get through sources and filter it into making that still make sense. Do you know what I mean? And also, not to go like on a total diatribe here, but also let's be real about this. This is kind of uncharted territory, right? So it could just be as simple as he heard one thing. Maybe that one thing was real at one time, but there's so much changing so fast that we're just not sure. Like I spoke to some people behind the scenes because I was like, because this Kang thing's been bothering me. As you guys can tell, it's been bugging me, right? And especially because of Daniel's reporting. So I was talking to some people behind the scenes and I was like, well, I don't understand why he's reporting this. If the trade said this, Perez said this. Alex Perez has a higher accuracy level than Daniel. Like the Cosmic Circus is literally more accurate than Daniel. So that's like number one, where I was like, that's so weird. A more accurate source is refuting this. But then when I talked to people about it, they were like, I think Marvel's still trying to figure that out. Right? So just because they have some ideas doesn't mean they've decided that idea is like the direction in which they're going to go. So maybe that helps to clarify. Richie says, halfway to the ultimate goal of attending Diamond Lounge streams. I don't know what you weirdos do in there, but I'm going to find out. Another month. Oh, hell yeah. By the way, I was thinking about doing a Diamond stream either this Friday or next Friday. I don't know. Yeah, it could be cool. But yeah, the Diamond Lounges, they are pretty fun, man. They get pretty wild. Daniel says, I read the big name actor like the ex-Marine Adam Driver passed on Reed Richards because the role of Reed is a buffoon and yeah, Adam would have been great. I've heard that too. It's hard to say how true that is. I think that what the real story is the version of the script that they had that Adam looked at, he was not interested in. And that could be because they were going to make him a buffoon. They were going to go full MCU, make Sue smarter, better, more capable. And that would have been super cringe. But it could just be a money thing too. You know, I think Snyder reported that they did change the script to try to attract Adam. But it apparently just didn't work. Or the money mandate came down in the middle of that process. So, yeah, who knows for sure. All I can tell you is that, like, I've heard more recent information that makes me believe the script is going to balance. It's not going to be so focused on Sue. You're probably not going to get a female Silver Surfer. And by the way, I've also been telling you guys that that's what they're going to do. Hollywood is not a town of original thinkers. They react. Like, the whole reason you've got all these female leads and all the shift into female characters is of reaction. They're just reacting. They just thought that's what people wanted. And they started to do that more and more. And there is, like, motivation, like the DEI stuff. There is motivation as far as, like, expanding the brand, right? Because Disney makes a lot of money off of this IP sort of long tail through merchandising, parks, even makeup, right? So it behooves you to have more of an appeal to potential female consumers. But we're coming off of the Marvels. We're coming off of Madam Web. And, I mean, you know, I'm sure you guys saw the reports about the Silk show. So they went into the Silk show and they fired everybody except the showrunner. They're hiring a whole new team of creatives, and they want the show to be male skewing. They're trying to create. They're trying to do it more for like a male skewed audience, which comics has always been a more male skewing audience. There are, of course, female nerds and female comic fans. We got a bunch of them in the chat right now. But it's just the fact. I mean, I have the analytics. I know what it is. By the way, not to put you on the spot, if you're still in here, Rob, do you know the analytical percentage of females that watch your channel? Comics Explained. Probably the biggest comic book channel on the planet, if not one of the biggest. Rob has the info. Like 4%. Right. So, guys, like, would you start shifting everything around for 4%? It's just not a smart math-based decision. You know what I mean? So I personally think that they're reacting again, and now they're going to kind of pivot back to it. So I feel like Fantastic Four is probably going to be a lot more balanced now, and I expect a lot more Marvel stuff to be balanced. That's just how these things go. They ebb and flow. Hollywood will try something. It either connects or it doesn't. If it connects, everybody copies it, and it's the trend for the next couple of years. If it doesn't work, they reject it. They try something else. It's not a town of, like... Hollywood has a lot of creative people. Unfortunately, the movers and shakers there are not, right? So it's the sort of battle between business, corporatism, money, and creatives. And creatives get smashed, you know, in that conflict usually. Kyle says, yeah, Star Wars and comics have always had politics. The difference now is its purpose is dividing us. Fantastic Four goes... to 588, FF 1 to 12, then comes 600. Okay, so we'd have to read through. Well, maybe we'll just read to 88 then. For the comic book club. Maybe that's what we'll do. Thanks for that info, bro. Jack says, hey, Josh, just finished Ultimate Black Panther and Ultimate Spider-Man number 2. Think they were incredible. What about you? I think Marvel has something great with the new Ultimate Universe. Yeah, no, I'd agree. I will say, and I was actually not going to bring this up unless somebody asked me directly about it. I was a little disappointed in Ultimate Black Panther. Like, it just feels like, especially like when you compare it to Ultimate Spider-Man, and it's a little unfair because it's like Hickman, maybe the GOAT, definitely top 5 pure fucking talent. And I'm not super familiar with the writer of the Black Panther thing, but the Ultimate Black Panther felt a little bit more like paint by numbers number 1 of new comic book universe, right? The designs are cool. Characters seem familiar, but there's really nothing really interesting going on there. But I'm going to stick with it for sure. And the new Ultimates universe is fantastic. I haven't read the second Ultimate Spider-Man. I want to read it. Faux show. But, yeah, I don't know. What did you guys think of all... Did any of you guys read Ultimate Black Panther #1? Like, it's not bad. Like, I'm not saying it's bad. But pretty much everything in the Ultimates, the new Ultimates line, has been, like, fire. Ultimate Black Panther was like, is alright. You know, that's how I would describe it. It's alright. It was sold out before I could buy it. Yeah, I got lucky with that one, man. I got lucky with that one. Yeah. The Exodus says, Avengers 5 should have always been the MCU with versus Fox, with Doom taking the power play at the end. Multiversal Avengers, Doom, and Avengers 6. Still possible? Yeah, I mean, technically still possible. We'll see what they're cooking up. I still think they're going to go hard with the Beyonder. It's possible that Doom usurps the Beyonder and takes all that power. That would be kind of interesting. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Not really sure how that's going to shake out, but I keep coming back to the report from Snyder, where Jeff Snyder said, my source told me that Dr. Doom was always the capital T villain of Secret Wars. Not a villain, the villain. So, I don't know. That's either like true or it's not, I guess. West Coast Nerd says, howdy, took a year off of YouTube, TikTok, back at it. Notice the divisive topics get more views. Can I find balance to avoid the rage bait? Yeah. Let me explain. Let me try to explain this. It's a lot like Master Yoda said. Okay. The dark side is not more powerful, but it is easier and quicker. And it is just absolutely the case that using negativity will gain interest easier than gaining interest in a different way. Like, that's just true. Okay? So there's a couple of options, right? Like, there's a way to tap into sort of the salacious negative impulse without fully carrying through into pure negativity rage bait. So, like, one of the people I think does this really well is Screen Crush, Ryan Airy. So he has this series where he'll be like, is it bad? And it looks like pretty negative, and it's like, is it bad? And it sort of evokes that feeling. But then when you get into the actual video, you know, he's super fair, even-handed, and just kind of talks about it, right? So that's like one example. I've seen other people do this as well. Recently, Chris Stuckman did, I think, a horrible version of it. But to be fair, it's the same idea. You sort of lead with the same negative clickbait, and then you pivot in the video itself. I will also tell you that, like, YouTube and social media in general is like a really weird job because you are in the attention economy. So you need to get attention. And so you have to figure out ways to get attention. And obviously, I think there's like versions of clickbait that like everybody does. You have to be, you know, you gotta kind of be a little salacious, you know. But I think there's a way to potentially tap into some of that and not follow through on it. I also think, thank God for Mr. Beast. You know what I mean? Like this, you know, like, so I get a little bit of crap. I get some flack for being such a Mr. Beast fan, you know? But, you know, one of the honest to God reasons that I am such a fan of him and why I think he's such an important figure is because he is the biggest and the best, and he rejects the negative clickbait. You know, like I've seen him on many podcasts, you know, sort of speaking to this, and it's just easier. Like, it's just easier, and faster to just do negativity. It is harder to figure out how to create interest and get attention without being negative. But Mr. Beast is the litmus test. He is proof that you can not only do it, but you can be the biggest, most successful person on the platform, and you don't need to clickbait. You don't need to be negative. So I try to like keep that in mind too, because like I fall into these traps as well. And I mean, frankly, like a lot of like the clips and things that we put up on the clips channel, like, yeah, it has a negative slant. I mean, frankly, there's been a lot of bad news when it comes to Marvel, Star Wars, and DC recently. So you also, I think, have to kind of, you know, be honest. But I try to, and I attempt, and I think, you know, maybe you guys appreciate this, maybe you don't. But I attempt to try to keep it light. You know what I mean? Like, even when we're talking about really heavy shit, I try to kind of keep it light. I kind of try to joke. I try to sort of sit on the fence and explore both, you know, sides. And I try not to be super negative to any one individual perspective. I don't always succeed at that. But that's like my brand. Like, that's what I try to do. I think humor is a great way to diffuse, you know, hot button topics, right? So that's the best advice I can give you is understand that it will be harder, but understand that it will be better. You know, the negative, rage bait, anti-woke, you know, kind of channels. The problem with those channels and that job is that you have what's known as audience capture. So the minute you aren't negative about a certain thing or you're negative about the wrong thing, your audience rejects you. You know what I mean? So pick your poison. You know what I mean? Like, pick your poison. Decide which kind of friction do you want? Which kind of difficulty do you want? Do you want the difficulty of audience capture? And for me, it would be a problem of feeling inauthentic. Like, if I was just rage baiting or, you know, anti-woke baiting or whatever, I just wouldn't feel authentic. I don't know if I'd really be able to feel good at night because it's not authentically who I am. And it's also like, I don't know if I really want to cultivate a group of people that are super thirsty for that kind of content. You know what I mean? So you just got to think about what kind of person do you want to be? What kind of audience do you want to have? And, yeah, that's the take. That's the take. It is a tough problem, though. Chillin says, if I see one more person saying there isn't time to bring in Doom, I'm going to lose it. Thanos had 3 cameos before Infinity War. That's it. Nerd Ventures for life. Take my money. Yeah, bro. I mean, that's it. Like, we've been saying the same thing. And like, it's another thing that Rob highly agrees with as well. It's like, bro, you don't need any of that. You need 10 seconds. Give me 10 seconds. And I'll introduce Doom in a way that will shock and awe you, endure you to the character, and make you root for the fucking bad guy. You know what I mean? Like, that's Dr. Doom. Holy shit. All right, let's see here. Riley says, do you think they could be shooting short and low budget because they're using stuff they already did and paid for under season 4? You know what, Riley? I'm actually, now that I read that question again, I think I get what you're saying. So like maybe there's sets built, maybe there's things via what's this stupid thing called? Volume. The volume. Maybe there are some assets available to them that could help reduce the cost. That is actually a good point. Possibly. Interesting. Josh Power says, MCU hype, Ultimate Spider-Man 2 in hand. Today is a great day. Bring on Dr. Doom. Oh, hell yeah, man. Oh, hell yeah. And I'm very excited to read Ultimate Spider-Man number 2. I didn't even know it was coming out today. I'm so excited. Woo! Let's get it. Mo from the Foe says, you ever watch the Kang Dynasty opening scene by Spectrum Cinema? If not, we should on stream. That's what I expect/hoped for after years of reading Kang comics. Made me even madder that Kang likely won't be in the picture. Spectrum Cinema, you say? Spectrum Cinema. Okay. Are these all Kevin Feige? What the hell? Ooh. Look at that Hulk. That's terrifying. I mean, the visual effects could be a little bit better. You know what I mean?
The famed Avengers. Quite a spectacle you've created here.
Who are you? What did you do to our enemies?
You will refer to me as Kang. And as for your foes, let's just say their time has run out.
Oh,
yeah, cute
he
trick,
said it.
but it doesn't make you our friend. What do you want with us?
Friendship? No, Mr. Stark. I'm here to give you a moment to savor your fleeting victory before I claim it for myself.
We faced down threats before, and we'll do it again. We're not afraid of you.
I know people don't like AI. But humans well,
The brave captain. You misunderstand me. Fear is but a natural response to the unknown. And trust me, you have no idea what's coming.
All right, that's enough out of you, bud.
what? Why is Hawkeye the most grizzled, hardcore? Girl, fix your mascara. Holy shit. Damn. All right, all right, we'll stop. All right, we'll stop it there. Look, I feel kind of bad because honestly, Yeah, like I get it, and it's a cool kind of way to bring Kang in and like have him be this big monstrous threat. But I guess my problem is, besides the uncanny valley, my issue is, I just don't see why Kang in particular is important to such a scenario. Many Marvel villains could have a scene in a scenario like this. There's nothing about Kang that makes him uniquely qualified to be that kind of a threat or to do that kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Like, that could easily have been Doom. That could be Apocalypse. That could be any big bad from Marvel. I think there was a way for them to do some really interesting stuff with Kang. The problem is they didn't do it. Like, everything they did with him was, like, lame. You know what I mean? So, like, could something like this have been cool? Absolutely. But there's nothing about it that makes me think, oh, dude, hell yeah. No, they need Kang. Like, they need to be doing more with Kang. Like, you could do that with, pretty much any Marvel villain, in my opinion. Okay, David says, 3 years, baby. Thanks, Josh, for the wholesome content and crazy rants worth every penny. Hey, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much, man. Vincent says, with a $20 holla, that's very generous, bro. Thank you, man. Says, just graduated from Air Force basic training. I'm starting the POW/Wilderness Survivalist special Friday. Definitely glad I caught you live right now. I hope all is well, brother. Oh, man. Much love, man. Glad you're doing well. I'm interested in this wilderness survival stuff. I wonder if they'll talk about Tom Brown at all. Yeah, dude, good on you, man, and happy for you, and all is well. All is well on the Western Front. Anakin Stark says with a $5 holla, says, real female comic nerds rock, but when will these studios stop trying to capture an audience that has no interest in this or, frankly, most things? Yeah, for sure. And to be honest with you, like, here's my honest to God take on it. It's like, I personally don't even think it's a bad idea to try to be like expanding your audience or expanding the horizons of potential customers, right? Like, I think one of the problems with comics over the past 30 years, just one problem, they haven't done enough to really capture a younger crowd. Manga, killing it with the younger crowd. Comic books, not so much. Comics are like so kind of overwhelming. I do think they've done some better. Like, there was a DC book that came out in the last couple of years. I'm not even familiar with it, but it is apparently a pretty popular book with young people, and I think that's great. But for a long time, comics, like, they weren't really interested in that. I think you need to do that. I think potentially getting the TikTok saber twirling crowd. Is it Dial H for Hero? Is that it? I don't even remember. I saw somebody talking about it on Twitter, Rob. I don't know. I don't remember what the title was, but you know what it is. Star Wars has tapped into the lightsaber twirly girls with like the Princess Leia shirts and the, streetwear vibe. They've sort of got that audience, the Grogu crowd, right? A lot of like female nerds and whatnot, like that kind of stuff. I don't think it's wrong to create things, characters, products, content that is aimed at that audience. But what is wrong, and it's just a stupid idea, is to completely shift and leave behind the core audience. Like, to leave behind the established and core audience that has been supporting the genre for the past 40 years in an attempt to go after all new audiences. Like, that's just stupid. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So what you really need is just a more balanced approach. I mean, frankly, you need a very strong pipeline of macho, male skewed comics and content. How is that controversial? In what world is that a controversial statement? Like, how could that be controversial? You need a strong pipeline of male fantasy wish fulfillment, the lifeblood of the fucking thing, while also trying ancillary stuff. Like hello? Like, is that not obvious? Lone says, Javier Bardem or Cillian Murphy for Doctor Doom. Dude, I'm all about Cillian Murphy. I'm all about it, man. I want Cillian as Doctor Doom real bad. He's a fantastic performer. I also think Javier Bardem would be great, but I think he's going to be Galactus, actually. Fernerer87 says, what's up, sir? Oh, just hanging out. Seconds from Disaster says, they can introduce Doom in Secret Wars if they made it good, so it's never too late to introduce Doom. Just do him justice and make him badass, and I'm happy. Oh, hell yeah. Stormy, hey, always good to see you, brother. Says MCU is in shambles. Just the gym and get some gains. Oh, hell yeah. I don't even know what you were saying, but oh, hell yeah, bro. And it's good to see you, brother. Always good to see you, Stormy. Let's see here. Prez says, are you going to do a video on Ultimate Spider-Man #2? Well, I'd have to read it first. It's possible something in there will inspire me to make a video. I mean, I think the video we made on, by the way, that video is doing pretty well. I think it's like up to like 60, 70K or something, which is crazy because it started off like really low. The Ultimate Spider-Man video, the hook to that video is the fact that we don't just talk about the issue, but we talk about why it's so surprising that a comic like that is blowing up the way that it did. And so that's like a really interesting angle, which I think is why it drove views over time and made the video grow. I don't know that I'll have like an angle like that on the second issue, if that makes sense. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'd have to I got to read it, and if something strikes my fancy, if I can find a good angle on it, yeah, maybe we'll make a video. Maybe we'll make a video about it. Okay, is there anything else that you guys want to talk about? Rob, do you want to hop on a call and just speak your mind on some stuff? What are you feeling? What are you thinking, bro? Because we'll let you just ramble, man. If you got some shit to say, you got something on your mind? Was it the Hollywood Reporter article? What's got you thinking? What are you thinking about, bro? All right, let's give Rob a call here. John's Honest Take says, man, it's been a while since I was able to catch a stream, but I still pay my subscription faithfully. Well, I thank you, brother. Thanks, brother, for your hard work, man. Hey, I appreciate it, man. I really do. Yeah, let's get Rob on here. Let me give him a call here. Oh, and let me double check something real quick, Rob, before I call you, because I just need to make sure that my voice and video here. Wait, what? Microphone access is denied. What does that mean? All right, I'm going to try to give Rob a call. Hopefully this works. Okay, allow. Okay, cool. I think it did work on my end. Yo, are you there, bro?
Yo.
Got you, man. What's up?
Oh, not too much, man. No, dude, I was listening to what you were saying, man, and I don't know, because I mean, it's like the news with Kang, right? Like the idea that Marvel was supposedly moving away from Kang the whole time and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I do think I think it's a terrible. I think it would have worked. I think the idea of Kang would have worked, and honestly, I think it would have worked because of Madam Web if they had done Madam Web correctly.
Oh, you mean Web of Life and Destiny and? time.
No, not even that, man. Not even that. Like, see, the problem, like I think like the biggest issue in the MC in just comic book movies right now, which like Warner Brothers, whatever, like we won't know until James Gunn does his thing, right? What it's gonna look like.
Yep.
So right now it all kind of just comes down to like Marvel and Sony, right? Like Madam Web should have been a collaboration between Marvel and Sony.
Oh,
right?
100%.
Like, for a few reasons.
For sure.
Yeah, 100%. Because like what they should have done, right? Like, I mean, how familiar are you with Ezekiel Sims in like Marvel Comics as a character?
Not really. I think maybe around the first trailer or something, I did like a little bit of diving on it. And I don't even think he has to do with the spider totems, does he?
He does, like he's familiar with it. So between the original run, like the J. Michael Straczynski stories where he was introduced, and running all the way up through like Spider-Verse, right? You get this like big cohesive story where basically you learn that like Ezekiel Sims first encountered Spider-Man and he looked like he was a villain. But it turned out what he was doing was trying to protect Spider-Man by like locking him in an impenetrable cell, which is what he originally did with Silk, with Cindy Moon.
Right. Okay. I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason why is because like the Inheritors are killing Spider-Man and Spider-Women across the multiverse. And so it was to save him from Morlun. And so like Spider-Man ignores him. Spider-Man fights Morlun for the first time. He's like, holy cow, this guy hits harder than the Hulk. And you get like this really cool thing. And so that basically like begins the process of going into Spider-Verse, right? And so in essence, like the Inheritors, which I'm sure you know about, but for your audience who doesn't, like the Inheritors are just like these beings of the multiverse who just feed on the life energy of like spider totems. So, like, Spider-Man, Spider. We could leave out totems. That doesn't really matter. But like the life energies of Spider-Man and Spider-Women across the multiverse. And so all you do is if Marvel and Sony had done this correctly, they would have sat down and they would have said, okay, so like, here's what's actually going on. Cassandra Webb, she's gonna be like Madam Web in name only, but she's basically just gonna be like a Spider-Woman, right? And like, what is it, Jessica Thorne Wallace, whatever the heck her name was, who's basically, or was it Julia Carpenter is basically who she is, right? You know, Sydney Sweeney, right? Just they changed her name. Was it Cornwall or something along those lines?
Oh, bro, stupid. I have no idea. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she's Julia Carpenter, like the original Spider-Woman, like the one who appeared in, who like debuted in Secret Wars, like 1984.
Yeah.
So you basically say like they are in some capacity going to be Spider-Women, and like Ezekiel Sims knows this by however it is that he knows this, and so throughout like the whole movie, it looks like he's a villain, and it's like he's hunting them down and all that kind of stuff. But at the end, you find out he's testing them. And the reason why he's testing them is to see, like, are they capable of becoming the Spider-Women that I believe they are? And at the end of the movie, it's like, yes, they are. Cool. They're recruited into Ezekiel's army. Why? Because Ezekiel is building an army against a force out there that's killing off all the different Spider-Men and Spider-Women across the multiverse. Who's that force? It's a task force assembled by a portion, or that consists of a portion of the Council of Kangs that are killing Spider-Man and Spider-Women. And it was created by Immortus himself, right? And the question is why? Well, because in the Spider-Verse movies, Miguel O'Hara monitors the multiverse. And it's only a matter of time before he learns about the Council of Kangs. And so what they're doing is trying to eliminate, quote unquote, the team of Miguel O'Hara. But like, that's like 80% of the Spider-Verse, right? So you might as well just kill them all, in for a penny, in for a pound.
Yeah.
Right? And you would think in sitting down that like, if Miguel O'Hara monitors the multiverse, surely he would know about like the systematic eradication of Spider-Man. He wouldn't, because in the end of the last Spider-Verse movie, what's going on with Miguel O'Hara? He's obsessed with finding Miles Morales. It dominates everything.
Yeah.
So much so that like he's basically abandoned the base of operations.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's no one monitoring the multiverse in the Spider-Man's base of operations. So it'd be very easy for the Kangs to move throughout the multiverse and start killing off all these different Spider-Men, and like no one's the wiser. Like no one realizes what's going on. And so, oh shit, did I lose you?
No, you're good. No, I was just like, I'm absorbing it. Cool. There's also a thing here that's so interesting because there's something I heard that I'm not supposed to talk about, but you kind of are like talking about it a little bit. So I'm like trying to process of like what I can and can't say. But yeah, no, I think you're on to like good ideas as far as how they could have connected it together. And so like ultimately, if Sony and Marvel had actually like fucking like worked together, we would have been in a way better spot. I think that is absolutely true. Yeah.
Yeah, because like what you have right now is the whole multiverse saga feels like an anthology book, right? It's just a great big comic book that has a bunch of stories that somehow deal with the multiverse, but like none of them cross over, and there's just no real shared thread running through all of them. And there's nothing, even if you look at Quantumania and you say that the way that Kang died at the end of that movie was dumb, it doesn't matter. You can redeem that in any number of ways. And so what you do is you create this narrative throughout the Sony movies and the Marvel movies that the superheroes have no idea what's going on, right? Like either they're going about their normal superhero activities, or they're just kind of bickering amongst each other in any number of things, or Deadpool's just being crazy and he's being Deadpool. And even like the TVA may not fully know what's going on.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
But whatever the case is, like you build this narrative to where the Kangs are moving throughout the multiverse, right? Like just like threads spreading throughout the whole multiverse and just systematically killing off all these different variants of superheroes. Right? Like there's a group that's designed to kill the Spider-Man, and there's a group out there to kill the Avengers, and there's a group out there to kill the X-Men, right? And each one of these groups just go through, right, and kill these various, teams and so on and so forth. But instead, like it all just feels so scattered and it feels so hodgepodge, and it's just kind of like we're in the middle of this multiverse saga, and it's just kind of like whatever, right? And then like and our conversation about the Fantastic Four, right? So like, I mean, let's just go with what we say, right? That like Doctor Doom eradicates the Kangs. Okay, what does that look like? I mean, you and I both agree, for all the talk about, oh, they got to build Doom up and they got to do no, like simple post-credit scene, but you have to make it amazing.
Yeah, you do.
Right?
Yeah.
So all you do with the Fantastic Four movie is what I've always been saying. You make a movie where the Fantastic Four in the 1960s or whatever end up going out into the multiverse. Whether they intentionally go out there or they accidentally go out there, it doesn't matter. But like they leave a kind of trail of breadcrumbs so they can follow them, they can follow it back, and they know how to get back home. You go into the first season of Loki and like the multiverse comes back and they lose the trail. So they have no way to get back home. So the movie basically just becomes Sliders, right? Like that's
Sliders was dope.
And Sliders was dope, right? So literally the movie is just the Fantastic Four trying to find their way back. And over the course of the Fantastic Four movie, whether you see 3 universes or you see a bunch of universes or something like that, like you basically end up realizing that Kangs are killing superheroes in the Fantastic Four movie. Like it's established.
Yeah.
You have the main story of the Fantastic Four, but like that's what you kind of pick up along the way. And so over the course of the movie, the Fantastic Four outside of the TVA are seemingly the only group that starts to realize what's happening. That like Kangs are traveling through the multiverse and killing different superheroes. Now, how deep their knowledge goes, you could handle that in any number of ways, right? Are they just like, someone's killing superheroes, this is wild, right? Or are they just like, do they somehow learn that it's a Kang, right? Or it's the Council of Kangs. But whatever it is, because they figure it out, the Kangs act preemptively, and they snatch up the Fantastic Four at the end of the movie. And now the Fantastic Four are being held in the citadel of the Council of Kangs. But then you go into a post-credit scene, and like the post-credit scene is the true ending of the movie, because the post-credit scene is like the Fantastic Four in their cell, and then things start going sideways, right? Explosions, you hear people screaming, there's obviously a massive fight out there, and it's like, what in the heck is going on?
Yeah.
And maybe like someone else who was being held prisoner alongside the Fantastic Four, and maybe like a different cell or whatever, they basically bust in and like they rescue, like they tell the Fantastic Four, like, we have to get out of here.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like, what's going on? And it's like, you don't know. And so you cut away from the Fantastic Four, and it's like Doctor Doom eradicating every single Kang. Just one guy, just one Doctor Doom killing every single Kang throughout that whole place, just eradicating them all. Because Doctor Doom uses a combination of technology and magic, right? It's one of the things that was always established in the comics is Doctor Doom is more powerful than Kang. Sure, Kang can manipulate time, but like that's it. And maybe some of these Kangs flee. Some of these Kangs take off right into the multiverse, and who knows where they go, which potentially sets the stage for whatever comes next. But like you get this amazing moment with Doctor Doom, right, where like he's killing one of these Kangs, like standing over this guy. And he's like, you can't kill us all. And he's like, I don't need to. right? He was like, the time of the Kangs is over, right? The time of doom is now. Let there be suffering and woe to all who stand in my way. And then you just, boom, cut it to black. And like, that's it.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's just like, holy cow, like doom is here. And like that's the thing. Like the introduction of doom does not need buildup if the introduction of doom is dope. Because if doom just shows up in a post-credit scene, eradicates the Council of Kangs in one fell swoop, people are going to be jumping out of their chairs. It's going to be the post-credit scene of Iron Man 1, right? Like, hey, I'm Nick Fury, and like, I'm creating the Avengers team. You want to join? Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Right? So like people would be freaking out. They would be absolutely losing it. So, but the problem with this, and I don't understand, like, all of this, like the entirety of the multiverse saga would be phenomenal if like Marvel and Sony would just like get the hell out of their own way and just like collaborate and make a project. Because what we're talking about here, especially when you're talking about the multiverse saga, Marvel and Sony are greater than the sum of their parts.
Yeah.
Individually, cool. Yeah, they're awesome. Like together they would, because I mean, how dope would it be? Right? Like say for example, like if you bring in Tom Holland, right? Like Marvel Studios has no face of the franchise. There's no face there. Like, how dope would it be if right now, Tom Holland, he's got no friends, his family's dead, nobody remembers him, the guy's hunting for purpose and meaning, he's recruited into like Ezekiel's team. And then like he becomes the face.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's the face of Marvel Studios. Because with him, you focus entirely on the Spider-Verse. The guy leads the whole Spider-Verse. So you, along the way, get like a buildup.
Yeah.
Where we would eventually get to see, like, Into the Spider-Verse or Across the Spider-Verse, Miles Morales and Tom Holland Spider-Man and Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. How dope would that be to see in a movie?
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
It would be phenomenal.
Well,
like,
I think
yeah, it'd be amazing.
I think they are not. It's so weird because it's the multiverse saga, and yet we haven't had any movie really crack open the multiverse. And even Loki, it doesn't like really crack open the multiverse. Like there's interesting stuff that happens with the TVA. They do technically go into different times, but it's detached from like characters and big events. It's all like when he's chasing Sylvie in the first season. Multiverse of Madness, you go into one universe where there's an Illuminati and, you know, you technically go into a destroyed universe, but it's all kept very vague and you don't really understand what's going on. And I'm looking for something a little bit more like Exiles, you know, and stuff that we've talked about before, but it almost feels like they're reluctant to fully go multiverse, even though it is the multiverse saga.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of like this. I think Kevin, after Endgame and after Infinity War, and maybe even before that, I could see his producer brain. And his producer brain says, well, how do I eclipse all the characters from the MCU being on screen together? Because that's essentially like Endgame and Infinity War is essentially like the greatest crossover event of the MCU, right? It brings in everybody. Guardians, you know, you've got just everybody. And then the portal scene really encapsulates that. And it's like the whole universe fighting against Thanos. It's crazy. So I think his producer brain was like, well, the only way we one up that is if we do Secret Wars. And then it's like you bring back Toby, you bring back Hugh Jackman, you bring back the old X-Men, and all of a sudden you have not just the entirety of the MCU, but you have the entirety of all of the multiverse and all of the most popular characters from all the most popular franchises on the screen again. That's a producer's wet dream, and I think that's really where the idea came from. But I don't think they really had a plan of how to get there. You know what I mean?
No,
so I think
they did not.
Yeah,
they did not.
And it's weird because Hickman's thing is the obvious blueprint for it. And, you know, it's obvious that they're at least adapting some of that with the incursions and things of that nature. But I don't have a grasp of like how this thing's actually supposed to like move forward. What are the even rules here? You know what I mean? Like there's just so much of it that's not working. And I think, you know, when we think back to the Hickman stuff, the very first issue is an incursion in Wakanda, right? So
It is. Yeah,
you-
issue number 1. Like,
Yeah.
there's the incursion, and then Black Panther forms the Illuminati.
Yeah, so you have a ticking time clock. It's very interesting. I'm thinking of the first Star Wars movie. We were just watching stuff last night about how Star Wars was like saved in the edit, okay? And you know about Marsha Lucas? She was George's wife, and she helped him edit the first Star Wars movie, right? So one of her greatest contributions is at the end of the first Star Wars movie, when the rebels are fighting against the Death Star, she adds in the idea of the Death Star going to destroy the rebel base. And if you notice, all of the voiceover and everything that's talking about how the Death Star is about to blow them up, it's all voiceover. It's all added in post. But it's phenomenal because it adds a like a ticking time bomb. It pushes, it drives the whole part of that movie. It's so good. There's nothing like that in the current multiversal saga. Like, there's nothing that's driving it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's like a
isn't.
huge mistake, dude. Like,
It
crazy.
is, man. Like, it's the way that it should have played out. And that's why like, to me, Marvel needs to have a rolling like 2-year thing, right? So say that like every phase is 10 years long. On the 8th year, they start planning the next 10 years, right? You get like 2 years to plan it. So then when that happens, like by the time you get to the 10th year, the whole plan is set up. And then you say, okay, guys, it's time for like a year to a year and a half long break. And that lets them start like screenwriting movies and all that kind of stuff and getting everything sorted out. Because with the multiverse saga, honestly, it should have all kicked off with Loki. That should have been like the start of the multiverse saga. Like, hey guys, like the multiverse is back at the end of Loki season 1. Okay, cool. And then it introduces like He Who Remains, the idea that like all the kings are coming back and a multiversal war is going to happen. Dope. All right. Now we as the audience are expecting a multiversal war. All right. Now where do we go with that? Right. And it's exactly what you said, right? It's the ticking clock. Right. It's like that song Mountains by Hans Zimmer from Interstellar, where it starts off with like that ticking sound, right? And then you just build to a crescendo.
Yeah.
And so that ticking sound, right? That slow building phase is like all the movies that start to come along, where it's like Deadpool 3 is in the multiverse and whatever his plot is. And, you know, you have Across the Spider-Verse and all that stuff. So you're slowly introducing characters, you know, from the multiverse. But what you're doing is you're, again, building this idea that the Council of Kangs is making moves, that the Council of Kangs is looking to eradicate anybody that could challenge them, right? Any superheroes that we're aware of, familiar ones that we casually know of. And at the same time, heroes slowly start to learn about this. The Fantastic Four is the linchpin. The Fantastic Four is the way in which everybody else starts to learn about what's going on. It establishes the Fantastic Four as the multiversal exploration team. It establishes them as like the forefront, right? Like these guys, because they would effectively be leading the charge.
Sure.
Right? Like they have all the information. They know what's going on. They're disseminating the information out, right? The Fantastic Four meet with the TVA, and the Fantastic Four tell the TVA what's happening potentially, however you want that to shape out. And so everybody starts to become aware of what's going on. And so the TVA, instead of like traveling from one universe to another, eradicating timelines, now they're recruiters. Right? So the TVA, because the TVA has a much larger force, and it'd be much easier for the TVA to spread throughout the multiverse and recruit superheroes than it would like the Fantastic Four. Like, okay, team, let's go to these infinite number of universes and grab superheroes. Not enough time for that.
Yeah.
Right? Spider-Man, Tom Holland, he's the one that brings in the entirety of the Spider-Verse. Right, so by the time it's all said and done, and you get to Secret Wars, the Kangs and all what's left of the superheroes, because maybe the TVA goes to an Earth where they're supposed to be superheroes here. The Kangs already hit it. Those superheroes are already dead. They're done and gone. Yeah. Right, so it's like, okay, crap. But like through TV shows and movies, you're building what is in effect this giant recruitment drive, where all these different superheroes across the multiverse are being recruited, and then they all end up in Secret Wars, and then you get the great big huge battle, right? The X-Men that we know and love, and some new versions that we've never seen before, the entirety of the Spider-Verse, like all these things all come together, and they face off against the Kangs. And then you just Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah.
The whole thing. The multiverse is obliterated in the process. Secret Wars is all that's left. It's a fight on one world or whatever it is. right? Like the day is saved, and by whatever manner and whatever means, you just get a singular universe, a singular timeline, and you just go forward with that timeline. Their surviving heroes all converge into that singular timeline, and that's it. Doctor Doom is like, well, there's no Latveria here in the main Marvel Cinematic Universe, but you know what there is? Sokovia. So we're just gonna rebuild Latveria from my world in this place called Sokovia, and then rename it. And like now you've got Latveria in the MCU.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's with forethought, and that's the issue. Is there's just no forethought there, right? Which, if I'm correctly, and like you could establish this, but like if I'm correct, they had no plan for Kang until they saw like Loki, and they're like, let's just build a plan around this guy, right?
Yeah,
and that's a terrible idea.
Yeah, no, I mean that's exactly what happened, and I think like there's an issue with Marvel because during the Infinity Saga, they did do that as well. Like they scrambled and it just worked. Like it's kind of like lightning in a bottle and they kind of catch it. But there was around the time of Age of Ultron, this was when they were really beginning to map out like Infinity War and Endgame. And they knew they wanted to go there, right? They have Thanos in Avengers 1. They knew they wanted to start establishing the gems or the stones. But it wasn't until like Age of Ultron that they really begin to like craft that and build that. I do think Marvel gets a little unlucky with, like the pandemic and a lot of production woes.
Definitely.
Sony has become more of an obstacle than a collaborator. That's obviously tough too. I think like my impression of it is like they had some plans, but that they ended up having to kind of pull back on the plans because they were just uncertain of how everything was going to sort of fit together. So like, for instance, Doctor Strange was supposed to be in WandaVision, right? Like a lot of people forget this, but like that was going to happen, which would have made Multiverse of Madness make a lot more sense. You know what I mean? It would have helped to pull it together.
The shadow at the end where it's like, that's Stephen Strange on the side of the mountain, right? Like everybody said he was supposed to be there.
100%. And I think the problem was because of production woes, their philosophy was, well, we can't set up these things up if we don't know how they're going to fit together. So they were like, let's just remove them. So because they kept doing that, everything feels so disjointed. There was a plan, but Feige was reluctant to show his hand because he felt like he had to keep adjusting his plan. Like Multiverse of Madness was originally supposed to come out before Spider-Man, right? So they have to like completely rework everything. Like the amount of drafts that Waldron did on MOM are like, it's crazy, dude. Like the amount of stuff that he changed and that they changed for that movie. So when in the Infinity Saga, the scramble worked, they get kind of unlucky and also the scramble doesn't work. And I think they've kind of been playing catch up for years. You know what I mean? And trying to like make it make sense. Now, the hope is that Deadpool 3 is going to establish some of the things we just talked about. It's going to establish maybe the actual stakes, maybe the actual ticking time bomb, the mission for the TVA.
I don't think it will.
You don't think so?
I think Deadpool 3. No, I think Deadpool 3 is just going to be like. So here's how Deadpool gets into the MCU, and like he's teaming up, and I think maybe it might be a coming together, but I don't know how much involvement. I mean, obviously he's going to be there with the TVA. Like, I mean, the trailer shows us he's there with the TVA, but I don't know if it's necessarily going to be a recruitment drive, because if it is, what they're going to have to establish in the movie is they're going to have to basically undo the ending of Loki, where the threat of the Kangs was like a footnote. You know, like, do we have information about those Kangs? Yeah, here's an envelope.
They got
okay,
handled.
Cool, I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Yeah, it was handled so poorly. So they're going to have to somehow build back up this idea that like the Kangs are ridiculously dangerous and they're moving throughout, you know, the multiverse, killing different superheroes and stuff. Deadpool's going to have to like start recruiting people and so on and so forth. They'd have to do a lot in that movie to build up the threat of the the Kang Dynasty. And maybe they will, right? Maybe they can. But I think building up the threat of the Kang Dynasty needs to be like a concerted effort across multiple properties. And like I said, I don't know if I fully agree with the idea that there was really even any semblance of a plan when it came to the multiverse saga. I think they were just like, let's do something with Loki. Okay, well, let's do the TVA and like the idea of the multiverse. Then they saw how awesome Jonathan Majors was, and they were like, this is dope. But the issue is you get around to Quantumania, and it was like the equivalent of that scene from like a cartoon show where like they go to knock on somebody's door to see if they're there, and they knock twice, like, Nobody's home, and then they just leave, right, immediately. Because, like, they don't even want to be there in the first place.
Yeah.
And, like, that's what it feels like. Like, they were like, well, I mean, we gave it a good faith effort. No, you didn't, right? Like, the Kang Dynasty has appeared once in the entirety of the MCU so far.
And I don't even understand. I mean, that not only do they just show up once, but, like, I don't even understand the context. Like, I don't even understand, because here's something that's really weird. He Who Remains is literally in that post-credit scene. He pops up in the arena. Explain that to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, explain how this guy is the singular force that was maybe exiled in the Loki show, but he has the beeper. He's still in the group chat. He shows up to the arena with all the rest of the Kangs. I have no explanation for that. I also don't understand, what are the Kangs even doing? Like, what is even their goal? Right? Because we're told in Loki, it's a multiversal war. That's inevitable. And yet they're all working together to keep the multiverse, like, together. Like, well, that seems kind of counter to them turning on each other and starting a multiversal war. Like, it's just.
So they did establish that. And this shows how poorly it was handled. The fact, I mean, you're like one of the foremost voices when it comes to, like, so here's what's up in the movies. And the fact that, like, you're having a difficult time picking up on this, I think is an illustration of just how poorly it was handled.
It should be simple.
What I got from it.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, like what I got from it between Loki and Quantumania was the multiversal war, if it comes back, will be a war among the Kangs. But then once the Kangs come back, and with Immortus specifically, it's like, okay, so, like, we're going to stop warring against each other. Why? Well, because we've got a bigger threat to deal about in the form of, like, the Avengers, right? So, like, now that's their main focus. It's shifted, right? So now they don't really have any intention. They have to, like, unite. Now the question is, like, what happens, after they, once they unite, or once like the war's over? Like, do they go back to war against each other again, assuming they all survive? I don't know. But
yeah, I just don't
get
it.
The bigger thing here is. Yeah, like, that's the thing, is literally the Kang Dynasty so far, and the different Kangs as far as the MCU goes, has just been like, they're a group that's over there. And it's like, okay, cool. So, like, what's I mean, and, like, that's it. That's all you get from Marvel. So again, like, the benefit about all of this, right, is it takes a lot. I mean, outside of the folks who are just, like, looking for reasons to be angry on social media, and the ones who love to preach about the end times and all that kind of stuff, and all the rage bait, right, failing to realize their audience is going to turn on them the instant they make a video hating on the thing that their audience used to hate, but now they love, right? Like, like, outside of those guys, you have to do a lot to really, really, really push fans of comic book properties away. And the Marvel Cinematic Universe, for all the talk of it being, like, in the end times, it's a lull period, right? And some will say, I mean, that's just a case of denial. I don't think so. Because if Deadpool 3 comes out and Deadpool 3 just blows the socks off everything, then people are just going to be like, yeah, right, we're awesome. And there's a reason why that meme exists, where it's like a Marvel property, the MCU's dead. Marvel property, the MCU's back. Marvel property, the MCU's dead, right? It just goes this back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, because people have hope, right? And they still have faith. I think it's just a matter of them getting out of their own way, right? And then just kind of reshuffling things, right? If Feige and them were to come out right now and they were to say, okay, so, like, we're just reworking the entirety of the multiverse saga, right? Like, Deadpool 3 is going to be this, and Deadpool 3 is already done, and because of it's so popular, they can't ignore it, right? So they're going to find some way to make that work, and they're just like, we're just going to kind of restructure how things have happened, and like, the Fantastic Four is going to be, like, the linchpin going forward. Then fans are going to be like, okay, cool. Let's see what happens, right? And that's the thing. Like, it's never really too late, especially now, to go back and rework things. Like, there aren't really any scripts that I'm aware of for Secret Wars or Kang Dynasty. As far as I'm aware, Kang Dynasty is not even going to be called Kang Dynasty anymore. Yeah. Right. So it's not like, it's not like we're like Infinity War Part 1 is done and we all saw it. Yeah. And now they have to go back and change things. No. There's all the time in the world to fix things.
And I think well, I think that's part of, for me, why I'm optimistic. And I think, when I look at some of the rumors, so I do think Deadpool 3, it's a little bit of a bait and switch, because it really is just going to be about Deadpool wanting to be friends with Wolverine. But
probably
the backdrop,
a buddy cop movie.
Yeah, exactly. But the backdrop of it will likely be the TVA like wanting to assemble multiversal Avengers. So you'll at least kind of introduce the idea of like, hey, there's this coming conflict. The TVA is preparing for it, and this is kind of how they're doing it. So I think that backdrop could be useful to kind of setting further things up. And then you look at the rumors of Fantastic Four, and you're like, okay, I could see how that's going to begin to set that up and establish Reed as understanding about the Game of Worlds. But what really excites me is the rumors about Doctor Strange 3. So the current rumors are that you're going to have the Black Priests, right, from Hickman's
Yes.
thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love the Black Priest,
Yeah,
man.
dude.
The words of power. Oh, I love the Black Priests.
100%. And they're connected. This is what's really weird. They're connected to Clea. In this version of the movie, you know how Clea, so you know how Clea recruits Steven at the end of, So
they go to the dark dimension, I think.
yeah, so that's where the Black Priests are going to come into this. And Clea is apparently either leading or somewhat in charge of the Black Priests, okay? And so a lot of the events of Time Runs Out are going to be adapted in Doctor Strange 3. And I'll tell you this too, because there's a really old rumor that talked about Chris Evans as Hydra Cap. And in that really old rumor, he was going to be teaming up with Clea, and Clea and Hydra Cap were going to be some kind of a multiversal group that was like doing stuff for Secret Wars. That's a really old rumor. But when I started to think about what Doc Strange 3 could actually be, I think it's going to do some heavy lifting as far as introducing that ticking time bomb, as far as introducing like what is at stake and what is actually happening as the multiverse collapses. And so I'm really excited about that. I also think they are going to more or less make Avengers 5 into Secret Wars Part 1. Like, they're going to crack that open a lot faster. Probably take a lot of the plot that was going to be in there with, like, 616 Heroes, put that into Shang-Chi 2. But, and this is actually really cool, I think we're going to get a Battle World saga. So I think in between Secret Wars Part 1 and Secret Wars Part 2, we're going to get some movies, maybe even some shows that are taking place where there's only Battle World. Do you know what I mean?
Dude, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, man.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. Flesh it out.
Yeah.
Like, flesh it out.
Yeah, man.
That would be dope.
That's the kind of stuff that gets me excited, bro. Like, that's why I'm still like, they've got the juice. And, you know, you said something too earlier where you were like, I don't even know how much of a plan there was. I think the plan, like, they actually had good ideas and a good plan. The problem was it was all way down the line. Like, meaning, like, Wanda. They've got something cooking with Wanda. I don't know if she's the Molecule Man or whatever they're doing with the Nexus Beam bullshit, but, like, there's something there, right? Steven could be the Molecule Man. They're cooking something there. Even God of Stories Loki is, like, they had that idea when they did Loki season 1. So Tom's involvement, So Tom's involvement, and because he's on the producer side of things as well, and his involvement and enthusiasm for it, I think, is not just based on the arc, but it's also going to be based on how Loki's going to be heavily involved in Secret Wars. Like, that's the current rumor, is that he's essentially going to, as the multiverse collapses, he's going to be able to let things go, and then he will help the Avengers in some big way. So they had good ideas. The problem was all of those ideas were way down the line. Feige and his producer brain, dude, when you go back, I might even like do like a very extensive video about this, because like there's not many people out there that cover it like this much, like for years and years and years. But like in 2019, he's meeting with Sir Patrick Stewart. In 2019, he's meeting with Hugh Jackman. So a lot of the things that were happening back then, he was planning for Secret Wars. A lot of people don't know this, but he originally wanted to do Secret Wars in 2024. It was supposed to come out this year. But then shit hits the fan, delays, pandemic, Sony's being a butthole. All these things happen, and it just kind of balloons into the slog that we've had for the last couple of years. So I think they have plans. They have good ideas, but there's just like this weird, like, like almost limbo of bullcrap that we're kind of going through before we get into the actual good stuff. You know what I mean?
So I do have a question.
Sure.
Do you care if I run my X-Men pitch by your fans?
No, I don't care. Of course not.
Because I want to know what your fans think.
Yeah.
Because I want to know, because like your fans are like Marvel movie audiences. Okay, guys. So I ran this by Josh like a month ago, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I remember.
Yeah, we were talking on the phone. Yeah. So I called up Josh, and like Josh and I were going back and forth, for a little while, and I was running this idea by him, but I want to run this by you guys, right? So here's the idea, and this first part, you guys are going to kind of be like, really? But bear with me here, right? So in terms of the X-Men in the MCU, like we already know the X gene exists in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, just from Miss Marvel. But what we establish is that the X-Men already exist in the MCU. And the X-Men are literally just living away from humanity on the island of Krakoa. Now, I think people's initial response to that would be like, okay, so like they're in secret and nobody knows about them. Like that's been done to death. No, people don't have a problem with that idea. People have a problem with the idea being done poorly. So Wakanda did it really, really well. Like Eternals did it really, really poorly. Like, hey, Eternals, why didn't you guys do anything about Thanos during like Infinity War if you were here the whole time? Mm-hmm. Something, Celestials can't mess with humans' progression. It was just really hand-wavy and
which
lazy.
Is even more irritating when you realize he has a deviant gene, and it's like, what are you talking?
Exactly.
Yeah. But anyway, go on. Yeah.
Exactly. So with the X-Men living on Earth right now, and living on Krakoa, right? A whole bunch of mutants and stuff like that. Potentially hundreds of them. Who knows? The question is like, why haven't we seen them before, right? And if there are mutants living out there, then like, how do you explain the idea of new mutants gaining their powers the way that Miss Marvel basically did, and why we've never seen them? So the way this works is that at some point in time, a conflict broke out between the human population and the mutant population. Now, it's not like World War III or like Days of Future Past or anything, but it is significant enough that, my dog needs love, but it is significant enough that Xavier realized if a peaceful coexistence was going to happen between humans and mutants, that it couldn't happen right then. It would have to happen at some future point in time. And so Xavier and a big portion of the mutant population leave to go to Krakoa, but not all mutants go. And some of them choose to stay back in the regular world, right? The United States or Russia or wherever. And some choose to stay because they have families, and some choose to stay because they think Xavier's actions are the actions of a coward. And so what Xavier does in response to this is he uses his powers and collectively wipes the minds of all of humanity about the mutant existence. Nobody knows that they exist anymore. And then those mutants that chose to stay behind, he wipes their minds so that they don't have any knowledge of the fact that they are mutants. And then he puts mental blocks in place so they can never use their powers. Yeah. So as far as they're concerned, they're just going forward as like just regular people, right? Like just regular humans in the world, and like that's it. And so this goes on for quite some time. And so what happens is that because some mutants stayed behind, right, that means that like they still have the mutant gene. So when they have kids, their kids will have mutant genes, which means they'll develop powers. Now, the number of kids developing powers over the course of any particular year, let's say maybe like 3 mutants a year or something like that, that what Xavier and the X-Men will do is that at all times, they have Cerebro, basically the helmet that he uses to scan the world of the mutant population. That Cerebro is always running, and it's basically an alert system. Whenever a mutant's powers manifest, the X-Men get alerted. Right. And so Xavier and the X-Men, they travel to this place, to wherever this mutant is, and they present them with a choice. They say, you can either join us on Krakoa or you can stay here. But what they tell them is, if you join us on Krakoa, your entire life is over. You'll never see your friends and family again, right? Like none of that. If they're like a full-grown adult when their powers manifest, right? Like you'll never see your kids again, right? None of that stuff. Like that's the sacrifice you make in joining us here. Or you can stay. Now, for those mutants that choose to stay, Xavier does exactly to them what he did to the mutants that wanted to stay originally. He puts mental blocks in place, takes away knowledge of their powers. They can never use their abilities. They just go forward as regular people, none the wiser to the fact that they're mutants. For people that want to go to Krakoa, that when they leave, that Xavier takes away all the knowledge of anybody who knows they exist, right? And then Sage, right, a mutant in Krakoa who can control computers and stuff. She goes into digital space and removes all digital evidence of their existence. No social security numbers, no bank accounts, no nothing. It's like they never existed in the world. And then they just live on Krakoa and that's it. Now this goes on for years and years and years and years and years. But all of it changes when Vision comes online. Because at some point between Avengers Age of Ultron and Infinity War, Vision learns about the mutants' existence on Krakoa. And he goes there. And he goes to see Xavier. And Xavier tells him everything that's going on. And while Vision doesn't necessarily agree with the morality of what Xavier's doing, he agrees with the logic of it. And so he warns him and he says, at some point, people are going to learn that you exist. They're going to learn that mutants exist. And so not only are they going to hate and fear you because of what you represent, right? Like the ending of modern day man and the evolution of humanity into having mutants and so on, all that kind of stuff. They're going to hate and fear you even more because then they're going to realize you screwed with their heads.
Yeah.
And so they're going to find themselves asking, what else have you done? And what else could you do?
Right. Yeah.
And so ultimately Xavier's just hey, don't tell anybody about us. And so Vision's okay. And the secret dies with Vision when Vision dies in Infinity War. And so fast forward, right? You could even involve these things where you have mutants who are asking shouldn't we get involved in Infinity War? Shouldn't we help superheroes defeat Thanos and all his forces? And even when Thanos snaps his fingers and dusts half the universe's population, half of mutants are gone. And it's a tough choice that they have to make. It's a tough decision.
Yeah.
But ultimately they decide not to get involved. Why? Because Xavier makes this case where he's if we go out there and if we face off against Thanos alongside the Avengers, humanity will love us in the moment.
Yeah.
But the source of humanity's fear of us doesn't change. We are an existential threat. We represent the ending of humanity as we know it. That fear will come back. They'll go back to hunting us and all that kind of stuff. We're better off just staying here, right? We've already lost enough people. We don't need to lose anymore. And so in Marvel Comics, mutant genes manifest under one of two circumstances, puberty, which is 90% of the case, or emotional duress. A 9-year-old is traveling with his parents in a car, and they get into a car wreck, and his powers kick in, and he teleports them 200 yards to safety. Right?
Yeah.
What's more emotionally high duress than half the population being dusted and then coming back?
Yeah.
Right? So what ends up happening is that in the face of this, mutant genes start manifesting all over the place. Right, just start activating all over the place, more than Xavier and the X-Men can keep up with.
Yeah.
So the old school story, right? The old school philosophy of we're going to mess with their heads and give them a choice, all that kind of stuff. That's gone, and mutants are being hunted and all that kind of stuff, and that basically leads to Xavier and the X-Men having to make a choice. Are they going to stay in Krakoa, away from humanity, and watch as these young mutants who have no idea what's going on, who are scared for their lives, are being hunted and killed by the human population because there is no shield, right? There's no one there to contain and control. Damage control isn't qualified to handle all of this, so people just take the law into their own hands. Are they going to stand by and watch these mutants die? Or are they going to step out of the shadow? Mm-hmm. And so basically they step out of the shadows and they're we are the X-Men. Right, here's what's going on. Mutant powers are manifesting, that kind of thing. It kind of ends very similar to Iron Man 1. But the biggest issue with that pitch is it is a lot of information.
Yeah.
But within a movie form, you can easily condense it down. The motivations and the actions of what the X-Men are doing and why they're doing it in terms of taking away people's powers or the use of their powers and the war between humans and mutants. That just comes with an exposition when Vision goes to see Xavier.
Yeah.
That gets explained to you in the span of
I think there's so many
minutes.
There's a lot of things that I like about it. I think first of all too, it's a little bit like Black Panther, essentially. It's like Wakanda, this hidden, very powerful nation that's kind of off the grid. Nobody really knows about it. So you can kind of tap into that energy a little bit. I also like that because I've always liked that Professor X is a little bit sus. You know what I mean? Isn't it the case? And I don't know if they retcon this, but isn't it revealed that James Howlett originally shows up to kill Xavier? And that Xavier mind wipes him and makes him forget about that for a long, long time? Or is that
I don't remember.
I want to say
if it was
probably One of those weird like retcon things that they
Oh no! You're talking about the Ultimate Universe Wolverine.
Was that the
and yes,
Ultimates?
that was
Okay.
in the Ultimate Universe. That was the case.
Okay. Yeah, because I just remember like several moments in the comics where you're like, damn, like Professor X is like a little bit sus. But yeah, like putting the mental blocks and everything like that. I think it would be cool. And what the way you would try to establish it is like you said, there's so much trauma, snap and post snap, that like the mutations would have to start happening. You know, like they just would have to start escalating. And then you kind of like slowly introduce that idea. And then all of a sudden, like the X-Men sort of present themselves. I also like it because it would introduce this whole reason to be really afraid of the mutants. If the mutants were capable of hiding themselves for that long and kind of like operating behind the scenes, that just automatically makes them kind of frightening. And so that would be kind of a cool way to have like humanity be afraid of them in sort of a newer version of the mutant take, right? Because it's like the world has to be scared of the mutants. Like that's part of the fabric. This would be kind of an interesting way to do that. So yeah, no, I think it would be dope, man.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's just the framework, right? I mean, you would obviously have to like modify it and adjust it because I'm looking at it from the perspective of a comic book fan. So you're talking about maybe like a 6 to 12 issue comic book story.
Yeah.
You'd have to like rework it, restructure it, and change it to make it fit a movie in a way that would make sense. And that could easily be done. I mean, that's literally the job of a screenwriter.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I mean, it's just it's one of those things where it's a very simple and easy, elegant explanation to like how the X-Men exist in the MCU in the first place. But I just wanted to run that by your fans. I don't want to see what your fans think because I mean, your fans are really good about being able to like figure out problems with like movie pitches and movie ideas and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to see what your fans thought.
Yeah, it seems like they like it. I think there are some people definitely saying it's complicated. It would maybe be tough for normies, right? I think. Look, I think it's a great idea. I think Marvel's really good at kind of easing audiences into things. Like if you think about it, Thor kind of eases the audience into like the idea of magic and these things, and then you get to Doctor Strange, but you can't get to Doctor Strange without that. Same thing with like Guardians of the Galaxy. It sort of cracks open the cosmic side. You can't do Infinity War without that, and you sort of piecemeal it to the casuals. So I'm sure they'd be able to figure out a way to do that. I'm incredibly interested in what they're actually going to do with the X-Men, bro, because I mean, they need them. You know what I mean? Like they need them and they need them to be good. So yeah, hopefully they're sitting there thinking of these kind of things as well,
Yeah, because you and I have had these conversations on stream. We've had these conversations over phone calls, and like the MCU kind of needs some Hail Marys at the moment, man.
They need some hits, man. They need some home runs.
They need some home runs. Dude. We're talking, playoff games, 2-minute warning.
Yeah, bro.
No coaches challenges. Right? You just gotta lob it.
Yeah.
Right? You're down by 2 touchdowns, man. Like you got it's a 2-play game, man. Like you're gonna have to onside kick, recover, and then run for a touchdown. Like it's So I mean it's they're in a rough spot. And I firmly believe, I don't really think it's too late to make changes and to pivot and adjust. But I will say, depending on how things transpire between now and Secret Wars, it will make or break the MCU.
Oh yeah.
Because if Avengers 5 and Secret Wars come down the pipe, those movies come and go, and it feels just like it does right now. Hodgepodge, disorganized, scattered all over the place. It's really going to turn people off because they're going to feel like this is the future of the MCU.
Yeah.
And yeah, because I mean, just like I do, man, anime is becoming the new trend.
Yes.
Dude.
Yeah.
Like there are people who have never watched anime once in their life. I was never an anime guy. I'm watching 5 of them right now. Right. So like anime is becoming the new trend. So comic book movies have competition.
They do.
Right. And like you mentioned earlier, it's the attention economy. And so if you can't keep people interested, they'll just gravitate to something else.
Yeah, man, totally. And I still, look, I still have my faith, and they have to execute though on these plans for the next couple of years. It's really all about a few select movies. I think Deadpool is one of them. Fantastic Four is one of them. Spider-Man 4, Doctor Strange 3. Those are so important. And they have to bring us back to that phase 3 feeling of like, oh my God, like from Age of Ultron into Civil War or into Winter Soldier, into Civil War, like it all just it felt like we were following along in this story. So they have a monumental task in front of them, but they also have the greatest producer of all time in Kevin Feige, and I think they have the greatest catalog of characters, and Secret Wars is a smart move. Like, that's a good idea. Yes, that can work. But like you said, they have to get us there in a way that feels satisfying. Right now, if you just took all these heroes and put them all out on Battle World, it's not going to feel right. It's not going to have that same oomph. It'll still be fun. You know what I mean? It'll still be enjoyable, but we don't necessarily want Jim Shooter Secret Wars. We want Hickman Secret Wars. We want it to feel like incredible, you know, and to be character based and all of these different things. So, yeah, I still have faith, but damn, they got a lot to try to figure out, you know?
They really do. I mean, that's kind of the kicker of it all, right? You go back and you watch the first 3 phases, and like most of that is filler content. Like if it doesn't tie in directly to like the Infinity Stones, you can make an argument it doesn't necessarily lead us to Infinity War. Black Panther didn't really have anything to do with the Infinity Stones. Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, Captain America 2, Captain America 1 had the Tesseract, right? So like, you know, like a lot of stuff from the first 10 years did not tie into Infinity War. But what it did is it progressed the stories of the characters.
Exactly.
And it gave us a better understanding of what they were about, so that by the time Iron Man died, or when Thor was all fat, you know, God, what movie was it where we had Fat Thor?
I think it was Endgame. Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, Endgame. Yeah, Endgame. Like where you have Fat Thor and you see him like struggling with depression, all that kind of stuff. Like it all meant something.
Yep.
And what it feels like right now is this saga does need to feel different. We're kind of past the days of origin stories. Like a buddy of mine, Victor Dangerous, he made a really good point where he was like, we don't need origin stories for characters whose origins were in the public consciousness.
True.
Right? Like, which is why we didn't get like the story of like Uncle Ben being shot because Spider-Man let the criminal run by him. You know, like it's why you didn't get that stuff, right? And we don't really need that, right? Fantastic Four, maybe, depending on how they want to handle it, but we're kind of past that point. But instead of it feeling like it's all building to something, you know, it's like you and I said earlier, man. It's just like we're in the midst of the multiverse, and like we're just kind of a boat sailing through a storm, right? Just sitting out in the middle of the ocean with no true north, right? Just
man.
Who the hell knows where we're gonna end up? So it's weird, man. It's wonky. Josh, I always enjoy these conversations.
Me too, man.
I love talking to you about this.
I love talking to you too about this stuff, man. It's super cool. It gets really sweaty for the audience, so I know they like it too. So
they really do, man. They go nuts over this.
They do. All right, brother, man. I'm gonna let you go because I gotta get out of here. So I'm getting hungry, but appreciate you, bro. We'll talk soon.
Me too, man.
All right, peace, man.
All right, later, man.
Oh, hell yeah. Nice and sweaty. Nice and sweaty for you, chat. Uh-oh. Ooh, I almost just blew your ears out with that. Hang on, let me get that going on there. Where's the... Oh, okay, there it is. Yeah, I almost had the music going crazy loud. Crazy loud. Okay, let me just go over a couple of the last minute super chats and then we're going to get on out of here. Appreciate you guys as always, okay? So Logan says with a 10 spot, that's very generous, bro. Says Dune 2 review embargo just lifted, 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. Comparisons to The Dark Knight and Empire Strikes Back. This is about to be the film of the decade. Marvel and Star Wars keep fumbling. Sci-fi needs its savior. Hey, look, you're not wrong, bro. We were talking about this earlier. I feel like this could be something special. And anytime something nerdy, you know, something geeky, anytime some of that stuff is like succeeding, it's great. A rising tide floats all boats. But I do think we need examples of what works, and we also have to see how the general audiences respond to Dune 2. But if they respond positively, then the studios that control the other IP, they have to emulate it, right? Like they've got to try to capture that and be like, what worked here, and distill it down. And that would be great. Like happier fans, happier Josh, like happier everybody. That's really good. And then Prez says, once again, I appreciate the longer, sweaty stream. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Appreciate you guys. Any last minute questions from you guys in the chat before we get on out of here? I'm like starving. I'm so hungry. I have headphones on too. Yeah, that would have been bad. Trust me, because I had the audio for like Rob, and then I hit play on the sound, and then it was like. You and Rob should do these theories more. I would love to, man. Like, look, the reality is, and I'm not saying that we can never do it, because, dude, maybe we can. Maybe we could figure out a podcast or something like that. Would be great. But the truth is, like, YouTube is a bitch of a job, man. It is a very intense, like, all-encapsulating thing. So I got to get out of here, right? And I got to think about the video, because I haven't done a main video on the channel since Sunday. I'm screwing up. You know what I mean? I got to get the video out. I've got to get the clips uploaded to the clips channel. I have to work on Unity. Like, I'm like, guys, like, it's crazy how busy I am. And I know Rob is too. Like, Rob has his channels, and trust me, it is an intensive thing to trying to stay on top of the YouTube thing. You know what I mean? It is. So maybe someday, but I got to kind of clear some stuff off of my schedule. We'll edge until you and Rob do welly sweaty show. Awesome. Awesome. Henry Cavill Wolverine cameo. I would love it, bro. I haven't heard of that from anybody reliable, but that would be great. That would be great. All right, guys, I got to get on out of here. But I appreciate you. Thanks for being here. Appreciate Rob. Thanks for the call. We'll do it again, of course. I'm going to try to get a video out of you guys today. I don't know if it'll come out today. Might have to come out tomorrow. But hopefully we'll be able to get more videos in general coming to you really soon, okay? I appreciate you guys. Much love. And as I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I'll see you in the next video. Is everybody gone? Did everybody leave? 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 Leave, 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 leave. That was nice. That was a nice, girthy stream for you. I had a good time. I hope you did too. Much love. I gotta get on out of here. I gotta figure out what I'm doing with my life. See you guys on stream on Friday. Should have a video out maybe today, definitely tomorrow. And hopefully, Unity Chapter 2 Second Chance Kickstarter on Friday. Gonna try to make it happen. Okay. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you open up that third eye and wash out your stinky butt. Bye.